Oh, Big Sil's got a big show lined up today. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, indeed. As always, we first have to do the ceremonial open. Big Sil's! Only place in America where truth, justice, and the Big Sil's way resides. There is no media bias that can influence this show. Nobody will infiltrate it because we only have 3 people that control it. The Krauses and Big Sil's, no one else. That's the beautiful thing about this. See, this doesn't have to have a red folder where 19 different people get a peek at it and give a little influence on what should happen and what not should happen. We got clarity on this baby. Next week, this time, will be free agency. The great thing about the NFL is there's always news, and there's always news in football. God, I would hate to be the NBA in Major League Baseball. Spring training, wow! If you go on WIP's Twitter page and you see all those postings on the Phillies, hey, wake me up in June. Let me know how well they're doing then. Wake me up in June. And for the NBA, wake me up in June when your finals start. Shit, the damn players in the league don't give a shit about the regular season. Why should I? By the way, today, one of the legendary sports writers in America, one of my dear friends, you guys, I will ask him about Eric Allen. He is a Hall of Fame voter. He is Jarrett Bell from USA Today, USA Today Sports. Wrote a great column on, hey, if that was Antonio Brown or if that was A.J. Brown pushing Andy Reid around, how would that have been handled versus Travis Kelce pushing him? He wrote that column a couple weeks ago after the Super Bowl. All kinds of NFL news. We will talk to him about Jalen Hurts. We'll get his reaction on Jason Kelce. And also at 5:30, one of the legendary football players of all time. He is a Hall of Famer at the college level. He is a Hall of Famer at the NFL level. He is a Hall of Famer in the CFL. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's also a California Sports Hall of Famer. Do you know who I'm talking about? When you're talking about someone that has been as accomplished as that. CFL Hall of Fame, NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame, the legendary Warren Moon, who's part of the broadcast team for the Seattle Seahawks, will join us at 5:30 Eastern Time. As you can tell, I don't know what it is, but everybody wants to come and talk to you guys. I don't know what it is. What are you guys doing? You have so many other options. They know that the show is just absolutely growing. And on top of that, all these people still want to flock back to the show. And I'm sorry, Big Chris, but Doug Flutie's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's a good comment, though, Chris. It does say Pro Football Hall of Fame, not NFL Hall of Fame. Why wouldn't Flutie be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? He has thrown for a ton of yards in Canada, played in the NFL, was actually a Pro Bowler. Why wouldn't he be considered a Hall of Famer in Canton? Because it does say Pro Football Hall of Fame. It doesn't say NFL Hall of Fame. That's right, Hamilton High. Way to go, MG. He's got a mural in Compton right now with Warren Moon's mug on it. And it was just done last year. He came on the program last year, and he was live at the event when he did it, and he showed us the mural. It was great. Did that right here on the National Football Show. No, I get it. So, yeah, absolutely awesome. By the way, the market's going to open next week, and I'm not talking about the stock market. I'm talking about the market for the Eagles and other teams to go shopping. I'll tell you something right now that we're starting to see, and we're starting to get some news. I'm going to give you a little update on Hassan Reddick. Also, here is the big story now that is starting to be leaked out from the combines. The New York Giants are admitting at the combines that they have buyer's remorse on Daniel Jones. They have buyer's remorse. They're sorry they cut that deal. It's almost like the same thing they did with Odell Beckham. Remember they gave Beckham that $97 million contract? And then within a matter of, 2 months, they traded him to Cleveland. Flexing, that was, we assumed that they had buyer's remorse. These are actual words coming out of the Giant management now, that they have buyer's remorse. You're right, Barb. It's not a surprise. But when you hear it from the mouth of the organization, and you hear it from the organization, that's when you know that they're ready to move on. They're ready to move on. But here's the problem when you do this. So you're not going to trade them, are you? When you have buyer's remorse, you're already automatically devaluing an asset that you have. Nobody's giving you a first-round draft choice for Daniel Jones now that you have come out publicly, basically, and said team sources are having buyer's remorse on Daniel Jones. I do think it's going to be Drake May to the Giants. I could see that. Or if Daniels falls down, which I don't think he will, the Giants are going to take a quarterback. They're not bringing Barkley. It's a train wreck of an organization right now. Wow. You're letting Barkley walk out the building. You have no O-line. And you made a mistake at your quarterback. All three things that have been a disaster. If you're Brian Dable, there's no chance of you saving your job there. There's just no chance. Okay. We're going to do something today. We're going to take a look at the Eagle roster and where the biggest needs are. And we're going to look at the roster, first and second team. And I'm going to show you that this is going to be quite a rebuild. Some of you will go, Sills, you really think the Eagle roster is a rebuild? I do. You don't win the Super Bowl with star players. You win the Super Bowl with depth because it's the war of attrition. If you're not deep, well, hey, would we not agree that the 2022 team had two things going for it? It was deep and healthy. Right? Deep and healthy. You know, Brian, I like that word. It's an overhaul for the Eagle roster. I like that. Before I do that, I want to get to Hassan Reddick. Here's what's going on. Mike Florio broached this, and it's starting to become true. Do you know what's going on right now in the open market with attorneys and agents? They're lying about numbers that other teams are supposed to be throwing out at their clients, and they're just running with it because they're telling sportscasters and people like Adam Schefter and people like that, here's the number that Hassan Reddick is being offered. It's $25 million. It's not true. These agents are now using some of the sportscasters around the country to put out a false narrative. Why wouldn't they do that? They do that in news, and they do that in news talk. So the agent for Hassan Reddick says the Cleveland Browns are offering Hassan Reddick $25 million, when in actuality, the Cleveland Browns may have offered Hassan Reddick $17.5. But Adam Schefter, and I'm just using him, some of these other guys are running with the story because they want to be first on X. Okay? 304. Dime Jones sucks. Carton 3. Philly 0. Love you, Sills. How you doing, Chad? Thanks for stepping in with us. Reddick's worth is $18 million max. Yeah, man. Hey, senor, that's the point. Mike Florio, I think, was on with McAfee. And he said there's an epidemic going on right now that these agents are now taking a page out of the news talk people. And they're just lying to these newscasters and sportscasters and telling them, my client was just offered $23 million, when in actuality, that team didn't offer him anything. They're fabricating the numbers to try to set a market that doesn't exist. If I'm the Eagles on Reddick, I call his bluff. I don't believe he has a market like that. I don't believe that there's one team in the NFL that'll pay him $20 million. I think the only people that'll pay him $20 million are the Philadelphia Eagles. That's it. I think they're the only people that would pay Reddick that money would be the Eagles because they value him. Okay? And he's produced for them. I don't have a problem paying for somebody that's produced. And I really don't think that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie have a problem with that. Hey, senor, the NFL agents get 5 Pinocchios today for lying about Reddick's market value of $25 million. They get 5 Pinocchios. They don't have a market for that. So you got to be very careful when you're hearing and seeing numbers on the internet that this guy is being offered. You know how you know the numbers that are true? Look at the franchise tag numbers. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, I think Brian Burns, he just signed a $22 million tag. That's reality. He's not getting $30 million. That's a $23 million tag. That's right, Barb. It's lying season. It's lying season. You know, Chris, I don't think that Hassan Reddick is a diva. I don't have really a problem with him. I don't think he's been an asshole. He's given you 30 sacks counting the playoffs plus in the last 2 years. He's been a Pro Bowler the last 2 years. I don't mind rewarding somebody. But again, know your limitations and know where you are in the room when it comes to what your value is, even on your own team. I don't have a problem with Reddick. At $25 million, I totally have a problem with Hassan Reddick. Okay? I totally do. You know, Chris, he's not a diva, but let's remember something, guys. Hassan Reddick's agent started this. You know how we know this? Remember at the Combines? Howie was asked the question, who came to who first? And it was kind of a glancing blow comment. And Howie went, his people did. They started this. Hence the comments by Mike Florio that these agents are now lying and trying to set a market that doesn't exist. And more so than not with the number. Guys offered, they'll come out and say, he's been offered $25 million, when in actuality, he's not been offered that. And Florio has been told by numerous teams, some of these numbers that people are reporting are 25% off the mark. That's a lot. That's a lot. Instead of being offered $1 million, you're actually being offered $750,000. That's quite a bit. Especially when you're starting to talk about hundreds of millions of dollars. So be careful what you're reading. This guy's going to get this. That doesn't mean that. That does not mean that. Please hit the like button. Don't forget. Jared Bell, Hall of Fame voter, USA Today will join us at 3:30. Warren Moon will join us at 5:30. All right, what I did was I took a look at the roster and I said, This is where they're going to have to address. Now, I don't know if they're going to address in free agency or the draft. But before I get going, give me your sense. And by the way, okay, this is kind of a bell curve comment. Offense and defense. What do you think the grade is for the roster? If you were to go top to bottom, the 90-man roster, what grade would you give it? We're going to start with the offense first. What grade would you give the Eagle roster right now? Okay? Don't believe the media. Water's wet. Bear shit in woods. Thank you. C minus. C minus. A B. 11 wins. That's not crazy, Crow. That's not crazy. Dude sounds high all the time. Way to look into, way to attack the guy there. Sills, the roster's average. I don't think so. The offensive side is not average. Offense A, yeah. But that's not the roster. Flexing. What is the entire roster's grade right now on March 6th? C minus due to LB mediocrity. C plus? Okay. I think we're somewhere in there. C plus. I think that's the roster. Okay. We're going to do a little exercise here. And I'm going to give you the first and second team and my comments on the depth of the team at that position. Quarterback. And remember when I say this is all due respect to Jalen. They feel they have their guy. He's not my kind of guy, but they feel they have their guy. So you're good there. What are you going to do for your backup? Are you going to get a veteran? Are you going to draft? I would say that depth level at quarterback is suspect at best. Mariota wasn't very good. You have to get a quarterback. The kid McKee, I don't care. I need somebody that resembles Jalen Hurts. If you're going to implement an offense with Jalen Hurts, I can't have a guy who can't jump over quarters as his backup. It doesn't make sense. Because if Hurts gets hurt, you're shit out of luck and you're a 4-win team. You're a 4-win team. So you've got to address the backup position. And this, I think, is a big year for Hurts to quiet the noise. That he really is. I think this is a staple year for him. I think he's got to slam the door that he's the guy. And have 2 great seasons on his resume instead of just 1 2 years ago. Malik Willis, I wouldn't mind Desmond Ridder as his backup. Somebody that looks like Jalen. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that looks like him. Russell Wilson, absolutely have no interest in that. Russell Wilson's going to start in Pittsburgh or Atlanta. So the quarterback position for Philadelphia, that's an A situation because you feel you got your guy. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that are going into this offseason. That is their number one priority that they have to address. And if you don't address that position, I don't give a shit what you're thinking about a defensive tackle. Okay, running back. You got a problem here. Swift will be a free agent next week. Gainwell's a dude. And my comments are this. Really, I mean, you have to, the entire room is going to have to be replaced. Gainwell is a guy. He's not a very good blocker. Swift will be a free agent. He'll go somewhere else. And even if it's for $1 million more, he'll go somewhere else. You may have to change out that entire running back room next year. Penny's not coming back. Boston, I don't even know what they're doing with him. You had 2 players on your roster last year that contributed nothing to your team. Boston and Penny, why were they even on the ball team? Your entire running back room has to be revamped. So that running back room gets a big circle. You got a problem there. You got to figure that out this offseason. Wide receivers now. A.J. Brown. Okay, whatever you think of him, whatever I think of him, he's a productive football player. I think they target him too much. And when I say that, I think they target him too much with just common throws. Of course, I want to get the football to my highest paid guy and my best guy. Of course I do. But at the end of the day, they've got to be quality throws to him and quality targets, not just random targets to him. And I think that's where Kellen Moore steps in more. Olamide Zaccheaus, I don't have a problem with the kid, but they don't utilize him. And I would say this, the depth level at wide receiver is atrocious in Philadelphia. You have no depth to say anything. And again, is it because you didn't throw to that position? 36 total catches from your third spot and from your backups is not going to cut it. So I like the way Olamide Zaccheaus, I like the way he blocked. I did. I didn't have a problem with him. But again, backup, you really don't have any. Devontae, one of my favorite players, if not the favorite player on the team. Tremendous ball player, great number 2. Quez Watkins as your backup, that's a joke. You have Olamide Zaccheaus and no one else behind Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. That's not going to cut it. So the problem that you have is your depth. So you've got to address, here, I'm going to write this. Your running back room is a major concern. Your depth at wideout, wide receiver, is a concern. Okay? You got star players. But behind them, you're an injury away from a disaster. Wide receiver 3. You don't have anybody. You basically go into a drive every game versus a defense, 10 versus 11. You have nothing at wide receiver 3. Julio Jones, I told you day one when you brought him in, Julio Jones, his best years were 5-6 years ago. Is he going to Canton? Yes. But Julio Jones is name only. He's nothing more. So he's not even part of the future of anything. So your depth and wide receiver 3. Look at this. Everyone goes, well, the offense is fine. Well, your offensive running back room is going to be hit hard with free agency here. And your wide receiver depth, you have none. You legitimately don't even have a guy to figure out who's going to play the 3-hole at wide receiver. Let's go tight end. Hey, Dallas Goedert, you need to address this. And you've been very good at this position over the last 25 years. So I feel comfortable with you replacing tight ends in this room. Your depth level's terrible. Jack Stoll? Come on, man. Your depth and your main tight end, 1, misses 25% of his seasons every year he plays. So you have injury problems and no depth at tight end. Okay? Now look, I'm being objective here. I'm not attacking anybody. Your running back room's a major concern. Your depth level at wide receiver and your third wide receiver has to be addressed. And your talent at tight end, 25% of the time he's missing, and you have nothing behind him, which means you get very little production out of it. LJ goes, injuries are all luck. You know this. Well, I'll tell you what, he's been hurt every year since he's been in the league, and that's 6 years. That's a really unlucky guy. Okay. Every year he's hurt. Every year he's hurt. And LJ, he's right. Broken arm, all that stuff. He's hurt every year. That's a really unlucky dude. That's a super unlucky guy. So you need to figure out where you are in the tight end position here. You got problems. Look at this. Running back room is terrible after next week because Swift is going to leave. Your depth at wideout is bad. Tight end, you got a guy that's always hurt. Joho goes, injuries come with this sport. I'll tell you what, Jason Kelce, how many games has Jason Kelce missed in 13 years? Can someone tell me? How many games has Jason Kelce missed in 13 years? You're damn right Joe Burrow's hurt all the time. That's why I call him Joe Namath. I call him Joe Namath Burrow. So Jason Kelce has the greatest luck in history of centers. And Dallas Goedert has some of the worst luck. Hey, to LJ, I guess it's just part of it. Okay. I think you got to do something at the tight end position. You get zero production out of that thing in critical parts of the game. Okay? Left tackle, fantastic player in Mulata. But his backup is Fred Johnson. Who's that? Who's Fred Johnson? Who's Fred Johnson? Yeah, LJ goes, you act like he missed the entire season. No, only part of the season that mattered when they were fighting for home field. No, and the year before, too. When he missed, the offense went backwards a little bit and Hurts got hurt. And then the year before that, he was hurt. You make it sound like this guy's not missing parts of games every year. Who's Fred Johnson? Fred is Souton's current project. Okay. So here we go here. You have no depth at left tackle. You need depth at O-line. Depth O-line. So here's where we are. Depth at O-line. Running back room needs to be addressed. Wide receiver depth is atrocious on the Eagles. Depth at tight end is horrible. Okay. Left guard, Dickerson. Suopeta's the backup. Okay. Suopeta had a great Rams game against Donald, and after that, I gave him all of his flowers, and I had to take the flowers back. Okay. Suopeta. All right. Center, Cam Jurgens. Suopeta's the backup? So Suopeta is the backup at left guard and center for Cam Jurgens. Again, depth, O-line. Who's Cam Jurgens' backup? Suopeta. Okay, so if Dickerson goes down and you have to put Suopeta in at left guard and then Cam Jurgens gets nicked up, you calling Jason Kelce? Depth O-line. This makes me believe more so than ever they're going to draft an O-lineman. Okay? An O-lineman at that 22 pick or trade down. Right guard, Suopeta, Tyler Steen, and then nobody. You have no depth in your O-line right now. For a football team 2 years ago that had Andre Dillard, whatever you thought of him as a backup, and you had Driscoll and them dudes, Suopeta, you had a lot of backups and some depth. You've got nobody here. Who's going to win the right guard position? Tyler Steen, Suopeta, or are you drafting a guy? Lane Johnson, right tackle. Still great. Jack Driscoll's his backup, but then after that, Sue Opeta. When you see a guy's name in a starting role and he's a backup in 2 other positions, 3 other positions to be accurate, you don't have depth. The big takeaway from this, though, is you have Jeff Stoutland, and he'll be able to identify guys in this draft and free agents that will fit the bill on what the Eagles are looking at. I would say of all the coaches in that building that Howie gives autonomy to, and that includes Kellen Moore, would you guys not agree that you would think that Jeff Stoutland has more say on personality than Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore will have this coming year on the type of personnel they're going to look for in free agency in the draft because of his accurate finds when it comes to offensive linemen? I think Jeff probably has as much say as anybody in that building when it comes to a coach. He's probably the most influential person in that building on personnel decisions because they're so good at the offensive line. So, even though you have a lot of holes on offense, not at the front 5, but more so on the back 5, I feel good because Stoutland's there. We're not talking about a coach who's a transition coach who just came in or a guy who had a bad year a year ago. His unit didn't have a horrible year. They're still considered one of the top 5 offensive lines in pro football, especially when you have your bookend tackles. Now, that's going to take a hit here, not having Kelsey in the center there and at the center position. And you're not moving. I mean, I've had people go like this around the league. Hey, Sills, why don't they just put Landon Dickerson over there? And I'm like, why would I? I told you guys this already, and I know you guys know this. But why would Landon Dickerson take a $10 million haircut? He's going to get into free agency next year and make $20 million. The highest paid center is a $10 million guy, and it's Jason Kelsey. I don't know why they don't value the center position as much as they do the left guard position, because I think it's more valuable of a position. But to sit there and say to Landon, why don't you go over to center and take a $10 million haircut, his agent will blow up on him, and he would too. That's not going to make sense for Landon Dickerson to slide over. Not going to happen. So here's where you are in offense. Right now, you need depth massively in the O-line. Your running back room is going to have to be a complete overhaul. Your wide receiver depth, outside of your front 2, you try to keep 7. You don't have but 2. Your tight end position, you need depth. And I'll give it to you guys. And more luck with Goddard. Is Goddard a $17 million tight end? He makes more money than Travis Kelce. Do you think you get Travis Kelce production out of Dallas Goedert? Do you know he makes more money than Travis Kelce? He makes more money than the Hall of Fame tight end in Kansas City. Do you think you're getting the production that Kelce gives you? How about this? That guy Darren Waller makes the most. Darren Waller and Dallas Goedert make more money than Travis Kelce does. Just asking. You think he's worth $17 million, $15 million? Okay? Because he's not giving you that. He's never had a 1,000-yard. He's never had a 1,000-yard season in his entire career. Barb Waller was good when he was in Oakland or Las Vegas earlier in his career, but the last 5 have been a train wreck. So again, there's a lot of work to be done on the offense. We haven't even gotten to the defense yet. Okay? Let's do that now. The Eagle defense. So again, on offense, depth in O-line. Your running back room is going to have to be replaced. Massive depth at wide receiver. Do you go veteran, draft, combination of both? Tight end, depth, luck. And what we'll do is after this, we'll look at it and go, oh, draft, free agency. Okay, Eagles, defense. And I'm putting this together here without Fletcher Cox being part of it, okay? I'm doing this without Fletcher Cox. Part of this. Left defensive end, Brandon Graham, has to be replaced as the starter. Whether he's on the team or not, has to be replaced. Who's the backup? At left end, you have none. You have zero depth behind Brandon Graham. Zero depth. And there's some people that are names that are on the roster that I'm not even going to mention because I don't know who they are. Brandon Graham, if he's on the team and he's depth, okay, sure. But you got to replace a starter there. You have no depth at left DE or starter. Starter and depth. Now, if you use Graham as depth and you draft a kid or sign a guy, okay, Barb is really right. There's no purpose for Graham on this team. Except for they're fearful of lack of leadership. Wow. You have nothing. You can't name a guy behind him. Dude, everyone takes it as so personal when people say it's time to replace somebody and you hold on to people too long. That's this case. There's no reason for him to be back whatsoever. Because you like him is not a reason. Could he give you 20% of the snaps at $5 million? Why would I pay $5 million for 20% of the snaps or less? Because he's Brandon Graham? That's wasted money. I could use that somewhere else on a linebacker. This guy's too old and not productive enough. I don't know. I don't want him back. But most Eagle fans do. Unfortunately, your heartstrings are playing with you here instead of the reality of rebuilding. Okay, your left defensive end position's in chaos. Your left tackle position, Jordan Davis. Milton Williams is behind him. Then after that, there's really no one else. But Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, that's not bad. That's not horrible. Here's where you get to the problem, though. Your right tackle position, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams. I say you need to get depth, another depth player at defensive tackle. I don't know. I don't think that's a high draft pick. Maybe a veteran guy, not a high price guy. Like a Sue, a Linville Joseph. Somebody in that neck of the woods, like $3 million, to come in and help out Williams when it comes to the rotation guys. I personally think Milton Williams can play BG's position. I would test that out, Marshall, in camp. But Marshall, here's the problem that you have with the Eagles. They don't practice hard enough, and they don't move guys around. And how do you get a fair evaluation of a player when you're calling OTAs or mini camp or training camp? How do you get a good evaluation if the guy can play the position and you don't play in exhibition football? You don't really know what you have. So again, I think you need depth at DT. So far, The two positions that we've talked about on defense, you need a starter and depth at left end, and you need depth at defensive tackle. These guys are all doing this right now as you get ready for free agency next week. They've already done this. Okay? They've already done this. Right defensive end, Josh Sweat. Okay? You don't have to replace him. I like him. Who's behind him? Who's behind Josh Sweat? You don't have anybody. You need depth at end. Like we said, you need a couple edge guys, defensive ends in a 43. He can't play a 34, which he wants to play. Why? My God almighty, you don't have a linebacker on your team, and you want him to play a 34? How can he do that? Okay, how can he? Zach Ertz signed with the Commanders. That could be a Josh Harris sign. So you need depth. Here's something here. Will linebacker. Your will linebacker has to be replaced. Zach Cunningham and Howie Roseman saying he had a great year. My God almighty, when I heard that, I'm hoping he was kidding when he said that. And so you got Zach Cunningham and Nolan Smith at your will linebacker right now. They signed Julian who for Sweat's backup? Great. Okay. Where'd they get him? Somebody cut him? We're doing the cut again as replacements? How about somebody you draft or you pay in free agency big money to? Why not go there instead of getting other people's garbage? Hey, Marshall, just found JAKIB today. Was a WIP and Fanatic guy for content. Needed to find some new places for Eagle Talk. Thank you so much for coming aboard, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hopefully we won't offend you too much. Yeah. Are people overstating leadership or the lack thereof on this team? How much does that matter in an NFL locker room? You know, that's a great question, 82. How much does leadership matter in a locker room? I'll give you an example of it. So when I was in Tampa, there was zero leadership in the locker room. And they were easier to surrender. When I got to Dallas wasn't a very good football team, but Ed Jones was in the building. And I watched Ed Jones, how he came into practice, how he prepared himself, how he got his ankles taped at a particular time, how he went to the trainer at a particular time, what he did and how many notes he took during watching film, how he handled himself on the road. It's watching professionals be professionals that teach the younger guys. I think I told you this story before. I had to carry Mike Stendrud's equipment bag my rookie year. He had carried Curly Culp. I don't know if you guys know who that is. He's an NFL Hall of Famer. Mike started his career with the Oilers, and so did Curly before he went to the Raiders. And he had to carry Curly Culp's equipment bag his entire rookie year. And I thought it was stupid. People came up to me and go, "That's an honor, dude. Carrying on a legacy." Oh, so it's kind of that kind of stuff. You may think that shit's dopey, but it's not. Everything in the locker room is done for a reason. Those 47 chairs are some of the most sacred chairs on the planet. And those aren't given to anybody. You have to earn every chair in that building. That's why people fight for them. Okay? That's why they fight for them. They fight for those chairs. So leadership in that context. Now, I'm not talking about rah-rah speeches and shit. That stuff's for high school. I'm talking about going out and winning, and when adversity's going down, You look over at a guy and you see Leroy Salmon and you go, oh, okay, it's okay. Okay? Cope, that's right. KC wasn't annoying. That's right. That's right. So at the end of the day, you got to remember, leadership, it's not overrated. Will linebacker has to be completely replaced. And you're hoping to get something out of Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith right now is Casper the Ghost. He hasn't made one impactful play, or he hasn't shown one bit that he was the 31st pick in the NFL draft. Okay? Your Mike linebacker's in ruin. You have no depth. You have no starter. You have no Mike linebacker as of March 6th. You have no Mike linebacker. So let's do this right now so far. Every position that I've addressed has issues. You need to get a starter at left end and depth, because Brandon Graham, unfortunately, his days are done in my book as an Eagle. You need the roster spot. I don't want to pay the $5 million. He's not worth $5 million. Brandon Graham is not worth $5 million. He's not. Well, Sills, maybe he could play 20%. I'm going to pay a guy 10% or 15% of the plays and pay him $5 million. Why? Because he gives a good pregame speech? Seems like a very expensive DJ. Not interested in that. Your defensive tackle depth is terrible. Need one more guy. It's better than filling the 53 with scrubs, which they do on a daily basis. That's Xander's take. See, Xander's looking at it. That's a common sense comment by Xander there. Xander's like, Sills, okay. Well, everything you just said, he goes after, and he goes out on the trash can route, and he picks up trash to fill holes on our team. At least Brandon Graham's not trash, which is true. He's not. Is it better than just going on the street and signing a guy? Just to sign a guy? To get a cheaper guy? When you can get Graham maybe a million or more? It's a good take. It's not a shitty take. Okay? LJ says, Sills, you're always taking shots at Nolan Smith because he sucks. He sucks. 4 plays a game. There was a stretch he didn't see any action, and he's healthy. LJ wants to give flowers to a guy who averaged 4 reps a game on a defense that blew out loud, and he had every opportunity to step on the field. It wasn't like he was playing behind somebody great. He's playing behind Zach Cunningham. He's a rookie. Give it time? You mean like N'Kobe when you told me to give him time? N'Kobe Dean blows. Nolan Smith is not going to shine in Philly. End of story. He's an outside Queasy Watkins linebacker. I told you that on draft day. I would never have taken that guy. Maybe 3rd round. There were people actually at the time on my network saying they'd have taken him in the top 10. I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. And LJ's going, look at Mozzie Smith. Exactly. I told you he was a 3rd rounder too. I said that kid from Michigan's a 3rd rounder because he has no feet. And the one thing that the Cowboys struggled at last year was run defense. And you're telling me that guy couldn't step on the field when their defensive tackles were getting the shit drove out of them, and he's supposed to be a good tackle? Well, I'll tell you this. Mozzie Smith versus Jalen Carter's rookie year, Jalen Carter was better. You see, you got to remember something about Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter's problems are not ability. It's his fatness. He is a superior player to Smith and will always be a superior player to Smith. Okay? His problem are Twinkies. Okay? That's the sad thing. Yeah, but here's the difference, Chuck. Jordan Davis can eat at a White Castle and play some good ball. Mozzie Smith eats at a White Castle, and he has to you have to always remember, he's got to take off his cement shoes. Seriously, dude, if that guy fell in a lake, he drowned because of his feet. Because they were too heavy. That guy can't paddle in a river. He can't swim because those feet are too heavy. That guy walks around with cement shoes. If that guy fell in a pond, no, wait. If he fell in a puddle, that guy would drown. He's got 0 feet. 0 feet. Mozzie Smith. Jerry Jones was calling him the next Reggie White. I'm like, who? Reggie White? You mean Betty White? Not Reggie White. Reggie White. Mozzie Smith. Dude, I swear to you, that guy would drown in a puddle if he fell in one and fell down with those feet. Okay? Hey, Xander, he drowned in a puddle. Come on now, man. That guy stinks. Hey, I like hitting people. Well, shit, if you could catch somebody, get your hands on them. Come on, big fella. Move them feet, man. Got to move them feet, big fella. Sills, you have no patience to develop players. Really? Well, at least I want to see some athletic ability. By the way, I never told you Jordan Davis sucks. I just want him to get away from the buffet table. I'm not giving up on Jordan Davis. And I haven't since the first day. He's not the 13th pick. I think he's still a first rounder. He just needs to get away from the buffet table. And you know that cafeteria that the NFL Players Association, that Bill Conjugal or Colarulo talks about so highly of, the cafe room. I like it. Yeah. Hey, they serve great Philly cheesesteaks. Obviously. Okay. Zach Cunningham had a good year. Then I have to tell you, I live in Australia. Everyone knows Mahomes and wears his jersey. Aussies tune in for Super Bowls, not Cowboy games. Dak, no. Going back to that, Anton? Okay. Well, then why is Dak going to make the most money of any quarterback in the National Football League coming up? He's going to make more money than Mahomes. Why is that? Why is that? Hey, look at Pickens. Andy Reid made the menu over at NovaCare. Well, that's not a shocker. That's not a shocker from Big Red. Let me just say this. I know everybody likes Big Red, but Xander, you put 4 ropes on that jacket he wears on the sidelines, you might see that dude on a Macy's Day Parade. Okay, I can see big fella there at the Macy's Day Parade with ropes on him. I don't know, man. I don't think that's too much of a shocker. And he made the menu. Okay. All right, big fella. Okay, that's good. I'm good with that. The Eagles, the only NFC team, can beat Kansas City. The 49ers can't beat them. Yeah. They've won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is they win the games that matter the most. Okay? Hey, man, I'm glad Andy made the menu. It's all good. Strong side linebacker, Reddick. Is he going to be here? Who's behind him? Who's behind Hassan Reddick? I got nobody. So you got no depth at your strong side linebacker. Okay? You got no depth behind Reddick. And is he here? Nolan Smith? So Nolan Smith is backing up Zach. Hey, get this here. Nolan Smith is backing up Zach Cunningham and maybe someone else. And you drafted him in the first round, and you want me to be patient. Okay. Nolan Smith, another bust. What's up with them Georgia guys? Xander's got to be going. Draft Bama. Ain't no bust on Bama. What are all these Georgia guys? Oh, yeah. Hey, Jordan Davis and Mozzie Smith doing an Arby's commercial. I actually like Arby's. I like the roast beef sandwich. Okay, so am I right? Bradbury. Okay, what are you going to do that? Are you going to eat the contract? Who's behind Bradbury? Who's behind Bradbury right now? Who's behind Bradbury? So wait a minute, I forgot to write down. Mike has to be replaced. SLB, you have no depth. Maybe no starter. And behind Bradbury, Keely Ringo. You guys are really high on him. Rex and Ringo. Sounds like the Beatles. Sounds like the Kinks and the Beatles. Ricks and Ringo. Ringo's better than Bradbury. So you're gonna put him out there on the perimeter. Keely Ringo. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot the Jimmy the Greek. Isaiah Rodgers is gonna be getting an opportunity. That's right. The sports better. Hopefully he brings an attitude to himself too. As long as he's not a Gator, I don't give a shit. That is a factor, Isaiah Rodgers. Okay, I want to see that. Then at free safety, you got Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown, two guys that are hurt. And I don't even know if Sidney Brown's going to be ready for September. Blankenship, in and out, he gets nicked up, doesn't miss as many games as you think. But he's not a starter. I think he's a good ball player. I do. I think he's a good ball player. Then you got Big Play Slay and Avonte Maddox, Mr. Paper Mache. Holy shit, this Avonte Maddox guy? You want to really know what a guy that gets hurt all the time? This guy gets hurt walking out of the shower. I mean, he's never healthy. Hey, Sills, he's a really good player. When have you seen that? When's the last time you saw Avonte Maddox do something that you went, man, that guy's great? A year ago? He's always hurt. Rudy Blankenship. That's a great goof. This guy's Rudy. Yeah. Maddox is done with the Eagles. They'll cut him. Probably post June 1. Jamal Adams, please don't bring that guy's name up. He has no place on the Eagles. And you could save $7 million cutting Maddox. I'm done with him. Can't rely on him as much as he's good. You guys tell me how good he is. So let's take a look at this. You have no depth in your secondary whatsoever, except for Sidney Brown and Keely Ringo. And your starters are Bradbury, Slay, Blankenship. Okay? And Isaiah Rodgers, I guess. All right. Look at the places that you have here. So this is what you have to address. As we look at them, hey, we just did this exercise together. You have to address the depth in the O-line. You have to change out your running back room. Your depth at wide receiver, you have two guys and no one else. There's 7 guys they like to keep. 7. And you got 2. So you got 5 guys you got to put in there. And you got to whack half that roster of wideouts. You need depth at tight end. That's just your offense. Now we go to the defense. You need a starting left defensive end and depth. You need depth at tackle. Adding a veteran next to Milton is going to be the key part of this. You have guys hey, you're not going to draft a guy in the top 3 rounds in defensive tackle because you've got a 3rd and 2 1s in there. You got the 13th pick and the 9th pick as starting defensive tackles. If those guys don't have A+ seasons, you overdrafted them, both of them. And I love Jalen Carter. You understand that. LJ goes, I'm not worried about the offense. 2 injuries, you're done. You lose Mulatto or Lane, you're finished. You lose AJ, you're finished. You lose Cam Jurgens, you're finished. War of attrition. War of attrition. You lose AJ or Cam, both of those dudes, season's over. You lose Mulatto or Dickerson, season's over. You don't have depth like you did in 22. You couldn't run the ball last year at the end of the year. That's the offense. Let's go to the defense. Couldn't stop anybody to save your life, both run defense and pass defense. You need a starter in depth. You need depth at tackle. Your will linebacker position needs to be replaced if Zach Cunningham is your starter, who you got at the garbage bin. I mean, seriously, this guy was there every Tuesday picking your garbage pails up. And you said, hey, you want to play linebacker for the Eagles? Sure. And you put him in the starting lineup. You have no Mike linebacker today as of March 6th. Even though there's a body out there called Jimmy Dean Sausages or N'Kobe Dean Sausages, whatever it is. He's a sausage. N'Kobe Dean Sausages. You know, the thing you get in a tube and you make there with biscuits and gravy and shit? The Kobe Dean sausages. Whew. Strong side linebacker. Okay? You have no depth. And then in your secondary, you need depth and you need some starters. I don't know, man. We're gonna take a look. Do you go free agency or draft here? I guess there's a lot of work to do here. This is going to be a turnaround. We're going to be a 13-win season next year. Shit. As of right now, your roster on March 6th, you couldn't win 7 ball games with that thing. And the greatness of Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Look at Slager. Buck Sills. Let's forfeit. And that's because if you were on the boat with Columbus, me and everyone else would throw you over, Slager. This is about riding the ship, jackass, and trying to get things right. Rolling your sleeves up and going to work. I'm just trying to point out to you the work you need to do here in this offseason. Time to go to work, Slager, or unless you're afraid of it. If you're afraid of it, you wave your hand like Slager just did. Fuck it, let's just quit. There you go, Slager. I know, dude. Hey, wait a minute. Slager, sarcasm today? Sarcasm? You better watch out, man. I know a guy that got fired. Believe me. Xander tells me every day about it. Sarcasm? You better be careful because nobody really knows what sarcasm means. They'll think you're calling them an asshole if you say that. Okay? Oh, you're serious? Oh, okay, well then, hey, time to throw Slager off the boat. Okay, you've been saying the same shit for 3 weeks. I haven't done any of this. I haven't done any of this. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe that's what you're hearing. Dog, I don't even know what I talked about yesterday or the day before that or the day before that. That's not how I do my show. Okay? I have no idea. By the way, Nikki and Kellen, is this going to be a good marriage? Jared Bell from USA Today will join us at the bottom of the hour. And don't forget, the legendary Warren Moon will also join us at 5:30 Eastern time. And we'll talk to him about Jalen Hurts. We'll talk to him about Russell Wilson and the market. Does he think there is one for him? Seattle? Quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the legendary players in the history of the sport will join us. That'll be at 5:30 Eastern. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills, National Football Show. Jared Bell, bottom of the hour. Pro Football Hall of Fame voter, USA Today. Warren Moon at 5:30 Eastern Time. We'll get to what we just went through with this exercise here with the Eagle roster, but I do want to throw this out. You want to know the slippery slope that sports is in right now when it comes to network television. So Fox Sports was contemplating giving Caitlin Clark a nil contract to stay at Iowa for their TV ratings instead of the WNBA, which is ESPN's property. You're going to pay an athlete to stay in college because you're popular. How can you give it fair coverage? Because it's nothing to do with fair coverage. Journalistic integrity? Come on, man. Fox Sports was going to pay Caitlin Clark, the women's basketball player at Iowa, a multi-million-dollar contract, a nil deal for her to stay in college. Hey. That white chick made all those executives want to pony up some money. She's the Larry Bird of women's basketball today. Wow. A network paying a kid not to go pro. That's when you're getting it done. Woo! White chick, Iowa, middle of the country, Larry Bird, French lick. This is great for women's sports. Oh, wait, in an actual women's sport. In an actual women's sports story. Fantastic. I don't have to read about some UPenn thing in that story. I don't even want to go into it. But I get to read a real story about somebody who's moving the needle. That's what I'm talking about. Kudos to her. You guys, I'm going to relent on something here that I thought I'd never. You ready? You're right. Xander, the Philadelphia sports and all sports fans have finally done it. I will never in a million years ever defend Chip Kelly ever again. He is a total piece of shit. And here's why. He came out publicly and said, I really hated being at UCLA. The highest paid state employee in the state of California was Chip Kelly. He barely did recruiting. He had no engagement in the alumni. He barely did anything with the players. He never went to high school in recruiting. He didn't want to be there. And those were his words. I didn't want to be there. Damn. He quit. He quit on UCLA and quit at his job, and he was the highest paid state employee in the state of California. Remember, USC is a private institution. UCLA is a state school. Okay? SC is private. UCLA isn't. That guy said it. I didn't want to be here anymore. That's why. Guess what he said? When I was calling plays at some sort of FruitLoop.com bowl, it made me go back to the days of coaching. I'm like, this guy's an asshole. What about the team that you put together that was out there fighting for you and you weren't fighting for them? What a horrible coach. What a horrible human. You mean to tell me you give me all the coaching bullshit in the locker room and you make me practice and you make me go to work and you give me a scholarship to come to play for you and you don't want to do anything that you're required to do as a coach to make me better? That's the worst kind of coach you can possibly play for. Self-interest coaches. Most good coaches and great coaches, you know what they want to do? They want to better their kids, and they want to give their kids opportunities to become somebody. You know how you know that? Did you hear Kelsey talking about Jeff Stoutland? Okay? Did you hear him talking about Stoutland? How he got emotional about Jeff Stoutland? There ain't no kids at UCLA going to be emotional about Chip Kelly leaving when they know he quit on them. What a tool bag. Completely. He benefited from coaching at Oregon because of Phil Knight's money. He took complete advantage of that. And without a doubt, his bedside manner and his behavior and how he sees himself bigger than his players. That's why he'll never be I don't think he'll ever be an NFL coach. You want to hear something, though? I think Ohio State has a great chance to win the national championship this year. And if Chip Kelly orchestrates the Ohio State offense to a national championship, he's going to get another shot. He's going to get another shot to coach a big-time program. I don't know NFL, but he's going to get another shot at coaching. I think they're going to be the preseason number one this coming season, Ohio State. Harbaugh's added a building. Saban's out of Tuscaloosa. I think Georgia's going to be in that conversation again. LSU. But I think Ohio State has a great chance to win the national championship this coming season. I guarantee you that's what he's doing here. He knows he can't get a job at UCLA. That's going to be a high-profile job. He knows if he orchestrates Ohio State to the national title, it's a springboard for him to get the Notre Dame job or some gigantic job like Michigan State that pays big money, $10 million, $12, $13 million. This is all being orchestrated by a guy who's a conniver and telling his kids, I hated being there for 3 years. Damn. He hated coaching his own players. Real quick before I get on, don't forget, too, Jared Bell's joining us bottom of the hour. One of the really great columnists in the country, one of the last true journalists. He's such a great writer. He was at the Combines last week. We're going to talk to him. We'll ask him about Eric Allen, how close it got. Maybe he'll hook us up. And we'll talk to him. And like I said, we will also have Warren Moon with us at 5:30 Eastern time. Real quick before I get back onto the Eagles. So the Minnesota Vikings are going to file tampering charges surrounding Kirk Cousins. And why should they? Well, Kirk Cousins' value is going up every week. Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Chicago, New England maybe. His agent is sending out smoke signals that he's out, and they're raising the price because the market for him is raising, which means the salary is raising. Minnesota wanted to get him back in the 30s. That's over. Kirk Cousins is going to command $45 million. I didn't believe it either. I didn't believe it either. I did not. But he's going to get $45 million bucks. Either Atlanta, Chicago, Washington. Does he go back? I like that take there. Gregorio, Chip Kelly to the Florida Gators. If Dion doesn't get that job, that Billy Napier guy sucks. I can't believe he survived. He goes to Florida and gets that Chip Kelly to Florida if they win the national title at Ohio State. Yeah, something like that. That sounds right. That sounds right. It does. So they're talking about filing tampering charges next week. Yeah, free agency starts too. So that's why people are trying to jump the gun on him. You know, he's rated as a second or first free agent that's out there right now to potentially land in a spot. That means he's going to make $45 million, man. He's going to make a lot of cash. And I, if I'm Minnesota, I want him back. You want to hear something about him? Hey, am I right, guys? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Kirk Cousins throw for more touchdown passes this year in like 6 games or half a season compared to Justin Fields? What he did all season? Did Kirk Cousins throw more touchdown passes this year than what Justin Fields did? I mean, I thought somebody told me that last night, that Cousins threw, and I think he played half the year last season, and he threw more touchdown passes than Justin Fields did. I mean, Cousins is going to get a gigantic market. He's going to get a gigantic market. All right. We did that exercise in the first hour. Cousins finished with 18 touchdowns and 5 picks. And I think he played half the year. Wow. Joe Mixon's been released. Why? Because of T. Higgins' money. You see how this works? You're going to start seeing collateral damages and casualty hits. Kirk Cousins threw for 18 touchdowns and 5 picks in 8 games. I guarantee you, Justin Fields did. Fields had 16 touchdowns in 13 games. That guy's going to get $45 million. You're going to get $45 million for him. Man, I'd like to have Joe Mixon on the Eagles. Joe Mixon's a heck of a ball player. I would have him, and I think he's an upgrade to Swift. He's a good ball player. And in my opinion, when he came out of Oklahoma, there was an issue with him breaking a chick's jaw. That's why he went in the latter rounds. From what I understand, all the things that he did in Cincinnati, the organization gave him a contract extension at one point. They really loved him. He was a first-round talent at OU. Stoops kept him on the team for a while, even though he had done that. And he's been a model citizen. Rob goes, can you release Bradbury? Yeah, pretty big cap hit. LJ's right. See, LJ, get this. The release of Joe Mixon lowers the value of Swift and the potential of Swift coming back at a reduced rate of $5 million. The more you see these running backs, like if Barkley's cut, okay, if he's cut, his value goes down. He's not making $9 million. Nobody's offering him $9 million. Nobody's going to give him $9 million. So the value of those contracts, the running back market, Austin Eckler too. There are so many quality running backs now. There's really not I wouldn't think that there's a rush to that right now. And here, think about it. You know, we just talked about it. Let's do the running back room. Let's do the running back room. Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon in your backfield, or Joe Mixon and DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift and Corum from Michigan. I think you could fix that room immediately. Swift, if you keep Swift, you need a power back. If you get Swift out of there, you need 2 multi-talented wide running backs who can catch the ball and run the ball. Swift and Barkley. Hey, how about this? Omar, you'd have to be patient with Barkley because Barkley's going to test the market. And there'll be somebody, like LJ says all the time, there'll be somebody that'll do this. I'll give him $7 million. If you could give Miles Sanders $7 million or $6.5 million, you'll give Barkley, who I think is overrated. He never lived up to the number 2 draft pick, in my opinion. He never lived up to it in New York. And when you look at all the injury history, the Giants are right to move off of him. But here's the problem. They should have traded him last year when the Dolphins wanted to make a move. Just to allow him to walk out the building like that and get nothing in return doesn't make sense. Hell, watch this. Even Howie got a 7th rounder for Jalen Reagor, and we all know what Jalen Reagor's value was. The Giants are getting nothing. I mean, that's not good business. Hey, if I can't get a first, let me get something for the guy. And who knows? You land on a Pacheco. Think of this for a second. What round did Pacheco get signed by the Chiefs? Does anyone know? Was it like a 6th or 7th rounder? How do you know you don't land on a Pacheco in the 6th or 7th round if you trade Barkley and you get a 4 and a 7 or a 4 and a 6 and you land on Pacheco? If you had to redraft Pacheco right now, he's a first-round pick. You never know what you're going to get in the back end. You know, most of the players, like Jason Kelce and some of these other guys that are in latter rounds that turn out to be starters, those are misses. Jason Kelce's a miss. Josh Sweat's a miss. Anybody who was taken out of the first round and has been a starter for more than 6 years, that's a miss. And then when you put Hall of Fame on it, that's an even bigger miss when you do that. LJ's right. The running back room can be addressed very quickly because of the amount of talent. I don't believe that there's a lot of talent in the draft, but I do believe that there's a lot of quality talent and young talent. Not just talking about the Derrick Henrys of the world. Like, I'd love to see Derrick Henry in Baltimore. Let's see what he could do behind that O-line with Lamar. I think if they land Derrick Henry, Baltimore, I think they could win the Super Bowl. But I think Lamar needs more. He can't throw the ball 47 times in a ball game. Okay? He can't. When you see Lamar putting the ball up near 50 times in a game, that's not going to happen. You put Derrick Henry in Baltimore behind that line, I'll tell you this. Make no mistake about it. The running back market is, you know, I just don't get what New York is doing. Last year, they had the ability to trade him to Miami. Instead, they tag him. Now they're not going to tag him. They're going to let him walk out the building. And like I said to you guys, if you would have traded him last year, maybe you get a 4 and a 7. The guy Pacheco in Kansas City's a 7th round pick. You never know what you're going to land on in the back end of the draft. Hey, it's not where you're drafted, it's if you're drafted. One of the people that we get Hall of Fame voters on here all the time. Jason Cole, Rick Gosselin, everyone, Howard Balzer. The guy that I respect, I loved his columns. I read his columns all the time. I love the Kelce column because we all know this. If that was A.J. Brown or if that was Antonio Brown, you push a coach in a Super Bowl like that, that's a different conversation when it comes to having an African-American do that. You totally know that's true. And he was making a point of it that not everybody's treated equal inside of a locker room like that or publicly. And I thought it was a brilliant column. He was at the Combines last week, and I'm very interested to see and hear what he saw there at the Combines. It's kind of like a convention now. USA Today and Pro Football Hall of Fame voter Jared Bell joins us now. How you doing?
What's up, Big Dan? How you doing, man?
Very good. How was your convention last week, or as they like to dub it, the Combines? I mean, how was the visit last week?
Yeah, it was good. It's almost essential to be there. I didn't hang out as late as I used to. As time goes on here, I've learned to pace myself with those early 8 o'clock press conferences and stuff. But it was good. I ran into several coaches, caught up with them, some agents, some GMs, some scouts. But I'm still not the one to break down the draft. Not now, not yet. I can tell you what I saw at the press conferences. That's about, and of course that guy Worthy with the record breaking time. He made himself a bunch of money, but yeah, it's an annual deal. I wouldn't want to miss it,
How about this, Jared? Is it more of a place of business for GMs and coaches and agents to get there? And again, I'm like you. I really don't care what the guy's name says on the back of the jersey. I'm more about needs. So I'm not going to sit here and break down a guy from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin like you either. That's not what I'm doing. But if a team needs an outside linebacker, edge, corner, safety, what have you, that's kind of what you're looking at on a position group. But has the combines become more of that, where it's really a place of business where you get to know potentially that there's someone that's going to be available next week?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then I think, like, for the teams, they'll be interested in certain guys, and it's an opportunity for them to have some FaceTime. But the real FaceTime is going to come, in the coming weeks. If they go to when they go to the pro day, they set up some workout visits. Prospects start crisscrossing the country and going to visit different headquarters. So there are more opportunities for that. But from a media standpoint, I'm not one of these guys who is spending the entire year forecasting the draft. I mean, there are people who do that, and they do it very, very well, right? I mean, there's a cottage industry, start with Mel Kiper, right? Still. But so for me as a media guy, Dan, I'm just trying to catch up. I'm trying to catch up, and I watched a few college games because I'm always traveling on Saturdays, right? So,
right.
I saw what I saw, and it was an opportunity just to kind of put faces with names. That D tackle from Florida State, I know you like him.
Yeah, Jared Ferris. Yeah, he's the fact that he's at FSU, not so much, but hey, I mean, they've been producing Brian Burns and Josh Sweat. They've been putting out some really good DNs over the last couple years here. Let me ask you this though: did you get a chance to see Jason Kelsey's retirement speech?
I did not, but I still remember his Super Bowl speech. So I think it was like the greatest Super Bowl parade speech in NFL history. So if it was anything like that, I saw a lot of the comments, but I did not see the column. But, just in covering the NFL and being around the Eagles, obviously, so many times, I mean, he's just a good dude, right? I love talking to him in the locker room, getting him to break down stuff or asking him stuff and just tapping into it. So yeah, he'll be around the NFL. We know that in some form or fashion. He's probably got a media deal coming. He may be on one of these primetime games or something. So we know we haven't heard the last of him, and he'll just really explode as a presence. But he always just struck me as a level-headed guy. And like you mentioned, the column I wrote on his brother Travis after the Super Bowl, when they did their next podcast, Jason was like, "Hey, dude, you crossed the line." So even in that type of situation, I mean, his credibility, was emboldened just because he called his brother out. Now, he didn't call him out quite like I did and maybe some others, but he didn't just let it slide either.
Jared, why are black athletes covered differently than white athletes then?
I think it's societal, really. I do. And I also think that, in our culture and even like the media culture, sometimes people don't fully understand certain things. And that's not just in the media. I mean, that's in corporate America. That's in, boardrooms all over the place and advertising and so on and so forth. So I think that it's all, I mean, shoot, why do more black men have, run-ins with police officers than white people? Why, Dan, every time we hear a story of somebody who was wrongfully convicted and they spent like 20 years in jail or 30 years in jail, you tell me when the last time you saw a white guy get released on a wrongful conviction. Every time you see one of these stories, I challenge you, and the next time you see one, hopefully you won't see many, but every time that we see that particular story, it's always a black person, okay? And so I think that's kind of, the answer to that, really.
I got Warren Moon on later on today at 5:30, and I want to expand on that one last question here. Do you think the pressures of black quarterbacks, athletes today, especially the African-American athletes, that when it's about money today versus opportunity back in the day where they didn't want to give opportunity because these $50 million deals now, I mean, many of these owners want to win now, Jared. I mean, if you look at the top paid quarterbacks in the league, 90% of them are African-American. However, they're quick to move off those deals if those deals don't come to fruition. Like, I mean, there's a lot of pressure. Is it just more about the money today than the opportunity that it was back in the day?
I mean, that's a great question. And it really requires, a deep dive because there's definitely the opportunity now. I mean, you even there was a time, Dan, probably when you played, where you rarely saw a black quarterback as the backup. It was kind of like if he wasn't good enough to be the starter, then he wasn't going to get a backup job. And, you can last 10 years, 15 years in NFL as a backup and make a ton of money.
Chase Daniels made $62 million. And I don't know how many snaps did he take? 10?
He didn't take 62.
That's right.
So that's kind of part of my point. But, to the point about pressure, if it's there, it's there. I mean, that's the job, right? And we know that pressure for any quarterback, black, white, green, whatever, can be different. And it could depend on, oftentimes your supporting cast and the coaching and the system and, all of the other factors that make quarterbacks successful or not. So I don't know if, guys are not getting the full opportunity to cash in on their talent once they get that opportunity. But I think that there are always so many other factors that go into whether or not you're a good quarterback or not. Because I've seen, white quarterbacks not cut it and they're gone, and black quarterbacks not cut it and they're gone. So I think the real positive is that, we're having a conversation where, half of the league's starting quarterbacks are black, unlike, a couple decades ago when we were talking about, could this guy even get an opportunity?
Absolutely. I mean, we're moving the sticks forward and the chains forward.
It's sorry to interrupt, but you got Warren Moon coming on. That's wonderful. He's just a classic case where, a guy had to go to Canada to really, just bolster his NFL marketability. And oh, by the way, he only went to Canada and won 4 straight Grey Cups, but
4 and 5 years.
Yeah. But should not have even had to do that when you think about his college career. And so, for Warren Moon to be the first black quarterback selected to the Hall of Fame is a good deal for him. But hate that he had to kind of go the route that he did. But still in all, just so glad that he had the career that he had in Canada and in the NFL.
Absolutely. Well, many of the players today stand on his shoulders. So that's something that he'll always be able to put out there, that he was one of the first. Him, Doug Williams, James Harrison, those guys were the first people to do this here. And Briscoe from Denver, too. We got to give him honor. Jalen Hurts. I said this, and tell me if I'm off here, Jared, and how you see him. His first year starting, like every other quarterback, goes through trials and tribulations. His second year in 22, he was an MVP candidate. Last year, he had 18 turnovers. I mean, who is Jalen Hurts in your opinion? And do you think he's still the guy, or is this 2025 season? Is this the year that he's really got, or 2024 season, that he has to go out there and show that the money they gave him is rightfully his job to lose? I mean, because who is he? We've seen 3 different Hurtses.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question just because he is the quarterback. He's in that position. They've committed the dollars to him. I still think he's the player who almost won the Super Bowl, right? He did have an unfortunate turnover in that game and fumble, and if not for that, they may have won, or probably some people will tell you probably would have won the Super Bowl. But that being said, he did get a team to the Super Bowl. You go back not too long ago, and Carson Wentz was that guy in Philadelphia, right? With the big contract and with the big expectations. So, Jalen Hurts, he's going to have to prove it, but that's kind of every year, and it always depends on how certain contracts are structured to see how much, give and take you have. But the pressure is the pressure. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to run from that. I think last year, and I went to several games, it's just really a trip, Dan, that the Eagles were like undefeated and or whatever, had the best
10-1.
Yeah. And then it just, collapsed, man. But Jalen Hurts was hurt for much of the season. And so he wasn't himself, even though he gutted it out and did, what he did, to give his team the best chance. But there were a lot of other problems that kind of were exposed as they kind of collapsed, looking at the defense. And I mean, how can Hassan Reddick, they put Matt Patricia in as the D coordinator, and then all of a sudden Hassan Reddick, who has been one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL over the last, 3-4 years, and he gets like, I don't know, 1 sack the last, several games of the year. So there are a lot of things that contributed to the Eagles' collapse. But I think Jalen Hurts, it's way too early to say that, he's not he's not capable of being that guy. Now, one thing that is significant, they changed coordinators. So Shane Steichen, who did such a strong job in Indianapolis in his first year, I mean, he left. That was the QB whisperer for Jalen Hurts the year before. So maybe that's got something to do with it as well.
I think you're onto it here, and this is where I'm going here. And tell me if you agree or disagree here. I think Kellen Moore is the coach in waiting, and here's why. If you look around the league, Jared, I mean, Andy Reid, play caller, Mahomes, Sean McVay, play calling head coach, Kyle Shanahan, play calling head coach, the guy up in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur, play calling head coach. There's like a fail-safe that if your coaching staff gets raided when it comes to having taken a team to a Super Bowl or doing well, your coordinator is going to leave and go to some place like Chicago or wherever a job's going to be open. And there are you again, back in the mix there. I'm looking for another coordinator. That'd be 4 and 5 years for Hurts, counting Sirianni's first year when he was here back in 20. My point is, if he does well, Kellen Moore, and Hurts does well, and he just went through a sit-down with the owner and whether or not he was going to be retained, Sirianni, how do you just let Kellen Moore walk out the building and you just had a powwow with a coach who you weren't sure if bringing back? I mean, I look at this guy here, no matter what he does, I don't know what Sirianni could do to keep his job.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great, perspective on it. It really is, because when you think about, obviously the offensive coaches and the coordinators have been, the hottest properties on the head coaching market over a number of years. And I've always been one to say, hey, you want a leader of men, and look at Bill Belichick and look at Mike Tomlin from the defensive side. And there's a lot to be said for that as well. But to your point, it's like if you are the play caller and the coordinator, and if you're the head coach on top of that, or say you're the head coach and the play caller, like a lot of them are, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, blah, blah. Okay, so when you're in that situation as the head coach, if anything happens at the quarterback position, the man that's most powerful on the coaching staff has got his fingerprints on it already, right? And the quarterback is the most important, player in football. We know that. So I think there's something to that just kind of adds value. Now, to your point about Kellen Moore being a guy who could leave, it could happen. But if you don't see him as a strong leader in that position, then maybe you just let him walk. I mean, the Cowboys let him walk. Okay, I mean, they kept him around and gave him extensions and made it sweet for him to stay for a couple of years. But look at what's going on now, Mike McCarthy, and then we'll see where that goes a year from now. What we're talking about a year from now. But the point being is that I've seen some of these coordinators as well, offensive and defensive, get fast-tracked to that head coaching job, and they really just can't cut it because they are not your Mike Tomlin or your Bill Belichick with the ability to command the whole team. Now, I mentioned Belichick, and I'd be remiss not to say Belichick had Tom Brady, but you know my point. But Belichick helped make Brady, into the player that he was, and Brady helped make Belichick into the coach that he was. But point being, you want to have that coach that can still command the entire room. And some of these coordinators, they don't get it. Some get it, and some are there, and they make that natural ascent, and it works. But others, not so. So I'm not sure about Kellen Moore on from that regard, at least from my vantage point.
Jared, I'll tell you what, and I think your comment about Brady and Belichick, I think that, you look beyond not just that relationship, because let's not forget, at one time, 2 years ago, Jacoby Brissett, Mac Jones, Tom Brady, hell, you even had a guy in Matt Castle who never started down at USC, won a division title in Kansas City. They drafted him in the 7th round. It wasn't like that guy couldn't develop and find quarterbacks. He had Jimmy Garoppolo too, who was also a starter. So he had 4 starters at one time. So he knew the position. And I mean, I think he gets really not a lot of credit because everyone goes, well, it's Brady. I'm like, hey man, this guy found 4 starters at one time and he drafted him, not one of those guys in the 1st round, except for Mac Jones. So again, I think you look at that, and that leads me to the NFL with you. Russell Wilson, do you think it'll be a strong market for him? Or do you think that there'll be a soft market for him?
I think there'll be strong interest, and I think a lot of this is going to depend on, what Russell is looking for. And if I'm Russell, I want to be a starter still, okay? So I can't blame him for that. That may fit with some teams, and a lot's going to depend on, how these musical chairs, evolve over the next few weeks. If Kirk Cousins leaves Minnesota, for example, then, maybe that's a landing spot for Russell Wilson. If Baker Mayfield doesn't get a deal done with the Bucs and he goes, back on the market, then, okay, Russell Wilson's in the mix there. If there's a team like Washington who's going to have a rookie quarterback, but they want a veteran guy to see where they can go immediately, well, maybe Russell Wilson's that guy. And then the market's going to be stronger because the Broncos are going to be paying the money, going to be footing the bill. And so I think that's the dynamic that really makes Russell Wilson attractive to anybody who's even thinking about it. And remember, Dan, we just came off of a season where we had so many backup quarterbacks that had to play. I want to say it was the record. It may not have been
68 total quarterbacks played last year, and it was a record.
Yeah. So there you go. Thanks for that. So, just knowing kind of the vulnerability of that position, there's going to be a market there. And maybe he can just call Joe Flacco and say, okay, how'd you do that? What? So, there'll be a market for Russell Wilson. I don't think he wants to go to Joe Flacco route, by the way, and wait until the season and be an emergency guy at all. But, this has happened early enough for him that he will get, strong looks from a lot of people. Now, like I said, the question will be, does he want to go in and say, okay, I'll have to compete, or be the backup waiting for the starter to get injured or whatever? Not sure.
You know what, though, Jared? I tell you, this has got Pittsburgh all over it. And to me, I mean, Mike Tomlin took a team to the playoffs with a guy named Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
I mean, Mason Rudolph. Last year, Russell Wilson had 26 touchdowns, 8 picks. He wasn't horrible. Now, low volume of passes, I get it. Quarterback rating was higher than even Lamar's. I mean, we're not talking about a horrific year here. And like you said, this year, $39 million is picked up by the Broncos. Next year, $37 million. Isn't this like a Pittsburgh deal? He signs for the league minimum of $1.29 million. You take that off to 39. They're still on the hook for $38 million, $37 million. This just looks like Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin all over it.
Yeah, I couldn't argue that at all, especially after watching the Steelers and what they did at quarterback last season, and how they just kind of, scraped it. They got there. But the thing about Russell Wilson too that's going to be interesting. You mentioned his passing numbers, and they were respectable, if not, good too. But some of the turnovers that he had 55 sacks, right? Which tells you maybe he held on to the ball a little bit too much. They were not very good in the red zone. So I think when you look at some of those things on top of the passing marks, you say, okay, maybe that's why. But still, that's a lot of money to be throwing away without giving it another, another year to see where it goes. So, I think Sean Payton knows he's got to get a rookie quarterback and have somebody who can come in and be his guy on a rookie contract to kind of help make up for, the salary cap deficit that they're going to have.
Gee, Jarrett, you sit down in that room with the other 49 men that are friends of mine. I'm on some panels. People, they text me, ask me about what do I think of these final 15 guys, and I give some of the perspective and I have. I look at Sean Payton. He's 9-7 in the postseason, and he's had one quarterback. And people like to throw the shade at Belichick and go, "Well, he had Brady." Well, I'm trying to figure out what Sean Payton is without Drew Brees, and just the perspective on him. Here's a guy with Bountygate that was suspended out of the game. Here's a guy that, if you look at his numbers, really outside of not having Brees, I don't know. How do you look at him as a coach? Is he overhyped? I'm not saying overrated, but is he overhyped? He's 9-7.
Yeah, I mean, valid questions. I think Sean Payton underachieved in New Orleans, really, when you look at having Drew Brees there. They had that one situation where it was all set up for them to go to the Super Bowl, and they had that bogus call. But even with that, I mean, there was questions about how they managed to manage the game, how Sean managed the game to even get into that situation. So we're gonna, really find out about Sean Payton and his his legacy, really, as a great coach, with what's going to happen here in Denver over the next 3 years. And so, it's good that he's got an opportunity to kind of prove, his worthiness as even like a Hall of Fame coach. But yeah, he won a Super Bowl and did a phenomenal job there. Great job in getting the Saints back, after Katrina and building them into a consistent winner. So there's that. But yeah, you can definitely look at, some of the opportunities that didn't happen. But I will say this: when he didn't have Drew Brees, and the times that Drew Brees, suffered some injuries, Sean Payton was really good with some backup quarterbacks. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was 5-0 one year, and there are some other cases.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, he did a great job with, like you said, Taysom Hill. And so, Sean is a very, creative mind when it comes to, putting together offenses. And so I know he's got that going for him. Now let's see if he can really put it together in Denver. I think if he can, and hey, oh, by the way, he's in the toughest division in the NFL, at least the most exciting division, with Harbaugh there, and of course the Chiefs. We'll see what happens with the Raiders, but they're going to have a lot of energy. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Couple last questions here for you, Jarrett. Okay, you've covered this man, and I know you've been at camp with him when he was in Philly. Now you're looking at him in Kansas City. We're looking at two different Andy Reids, aren't we? Because the Andy Reid I saw in Philly, time management going into halftime and at the end of ball games and all that, I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, the guy I see now, I see these skilled plays at end of games. Is it Mahomes? Is it Reid? Did he learn from what happened? There's two different guys here, aren't there?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he was successful in Philly. We know that. But not to the degree that he is in Kansas City. So I think part of it, you can, you've got to start with Mahomes. Okay. But the thing with Mahomes, it started way back in the draft. Like, this is the guy we want, go to the Chicago Bears, taking Trubisky or whatever. So, that is on Andy Reid's resume.
And they passed on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, you look at, just getting Mahomes, building the system around him, all of that. And you've got that. I mean, I thought a couple years ago when Tyreek Hill left, it's like, oh, no way, and they won 2 Super Bowls since Tyreek the Cheetah left. So I think Andy Reid has grown as a coach, as you would expect. Mahomes has definitely helped that, but Reid has definitely been that steadying force. And you look at, how they've done it in Kansas City, just kind of, him being that mellow guy who is, so crafty at what he does. And so he's better now than he was in Philly, but he was pretty darn good in Philly as well. But with the championship rings now and the commercials, Andy Reid did not do commercials in Philly, right? Now he's this lovable, this lovable figure, man, that everybody, loves. But yeah, Mahomes definitely, you got to know what to do with certain guys as well. So he gets credit for that.
Final question for you. Now, I hear this all the time. Is Jerry going to do this? Is Jerry going to do that? Is Jerry going to do this with Dak? I'll put this out there to you. For Dak Prescott to solidify his resume and for him to be considered truly one of the best, I think he has to leave Dallas. Ooh. You're not going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas. Have a general manager that hasn't replicated or duplicated anything that Jimmy Johnson did. If he's such a great GM and he was so instrumental in that part of it back with those 5 years with Jimmy, why hasn't he duplicated it since? I mean, they're one and done. The Cincinnati Bengals now have more postseason wins in the last 25 years than the Cowboys do. I mean, if Dak chases the money, you're further away from a title. You give him 60. Tyron Smith now has to be taken off the roster because you can't pay him. I mean, if you're Dallas, you're Dak, and you're Jerry, how do you see this story playing out?
Yeah, it's interesting because even with the salary cap going up much more than NFL people expected, the Cowboys are still in a well of a situation.
$14 million in the hole as of today.
Yeah. I mean, Saquon Barkley would be great in that offense, but they can't afford that. There was a time when that would have been, they would have been one of the top, suitors, right? But right now they've got to deal with this salary cap and then Dak's contract. So, maybe they'll find out something with Trey Lance. And this is not even answering your question, to tell you the truth, because, maybe that's a future option for them, and they'll see what they saw so far in practices over the past, season, and then into the offseason next, maybe some kind of option. But because I think that the thing the Cowboys could do is just pay Dak and then let him walk next year versus doing the extension at that exorbitant number and getting some temporary relief to let you do.
Hopefully we're able to finish up here with Jared here. I'd like to hear his
somebody else can we get somebody else to give us the production Dak Prescott gives us? We know what we've got in Dak, and Dak's got to raise it in the playoffs too. But there's a lot of people that need to raise it in the playoffs. But hey, one final thought on the Cowboys, most valuable team in the NFL. Fans galore, tickets, money, commercial.
Okay, I think we're getting a little bit of an issue here, and we're a little stuck here a little bit here. So, all right, that's all good here. Let's see if we can finish up here with Jared. I want to at least say goodbye to him because that was here we go. He's back. There, we got you back here, Jared. Jared, we got you back here. Got you. Okay. And the Cowboys, man, they got all the money, they got all the fame, but they got no wins.
It's tough, man. There's generations of Cowboys fans who've never seen them play in the Super Bowl. It's incredible, and then they're still like the most popular team.
It doesn't make sense. I'm with you. Hey, Jared, thank you so much for doing this. I can't thank you enough, man. We reached out to you when you were at the Combines, and you found time for me today. I'll make sure I tell Warren hi for you when we get him on at 5:30. I know he reveres you. He said, "Oh my God, tell Jared hi." I want you to know that too. So, thank you so much, my friend.
All right, my man. Take care. Thanks a lot.
You got it. The great Jared Bell. Make sure you check him out. USA Today Sports, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. Does such a great job, man, when it comes to covering the National Football League. All right, we're going to go into our exercise that we started with how we looked at the roster. Plus, I have another topic question for you. And we haven't even got to the second part of it with Nick and Kellen. We'll do that. More NFL news. Warren Moon, 5:30 Eastern. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Jason Kelce has even received kudos from Jill Biden, the First Lady, on a great career. Dude, so you're in the White House, and this guy has just, and you know, I brought something up with you guys yesterday just to show you how off base you were and I wasn't. What's that number here? According to the Daily News, it's being reported now that the Kelce brothers and their New Heights podcast could be negotiating a $100 million deal. And here's what they're reporting. It has exploded since Travis Kelce started dating Taylor Swift. Look, it's a good podcast. I'm not saying it's not. Put it right up there. And again, I actually don't think, I think since Aaron Rodgers has left, I'm not quite thinking that you're seeing the same kind of energy coming out of that McAfee show that you did before, because you know why? I'll tell you what Pat's telling me behind the scenes. ESPN's breaking his balls. If you think that I've got issues, here, you think I've got issues with certain people not liking what I'm saying behind the scenes? Pat has his bosses come down after every show and complain about certain aspects of the show. every day. I told him day one, bro, that thing will not last because ESPN is run by Disney and Bob Iger. You could take the $17 million, and I don't blame him. Who wouldn't? He's right. But that relationship is not going to last. That's why Barkley's still at TNT. Big Marshall goes, does Joe Biden even know who Jason Kelce is? Very doubtful. It's like a weekend at Bernie's. Absolutely, man. I like the fact that Sirianni, though, used to send Jason Kelce beer kegs to try to entice him to stay. I thought that was dope that he would do that. I do want to throw this out here when it comes to the fans in Philly, and Kelce addressed it again when it came to the fans and how they look at you in Philadelphia. I would say Buffalo too, Pittsburgh, some of those really, I don't want to say tough. I don't think Philly's a tough city to play in. I think it's a truthful city. Dude, you're either good or you're not. And if you stay long, you're a demigod, like he said. What's not the truth about that? Again, people telling the truth seems to call you guys assholes and tough to play for. I'd rather play in Philly than New York. You know why? New York and Los Angeles, those are phony fans. They don't really have a tie-in to their teams. You know, personally, I think the more sports teams you have, and especially if you have two NFL teams, I think it kind of splits the house. Kind of splits the house. You really think there's a lot of diehard New York Giant fans? Or how about this? I'll take New York out of it because it's New England. I think New England sports fans are way better than the fraudulent LA fans. I mean, the Los Angeles fans don't even stay for Dodger baseball, or they don't even stay for Laker basketball. It's the shittiest fan base in the country. You know, I don't ever remember anybody screaming that the NFL should come back to Los Angeles, and yet they gave them two teams. The NFL wasn't there for 21 years, and they were doing quite well without LA. I think LA is the worst NFL market in the country. Take a look at SoFi. Every Sunday, the Rams get outdrawn by opposing teams, and the Chargers don't even have a fan base. Okay? MG goes, we love our Dodgers and Lakers. Really? Then how come it takes you to the fifth inning to get there? Now, I will tell you, hey, MG, I will say the 405 has a lot to do with that shit. 405. Hey, 49er fans, there's a bigger fan base for the 49ers are the biggest fan base of NFL fans on the West Coast. Probably them and Raiders. Seattle's got a great fan base, but the Niners have a great following. 49ers, they run the West Coast along with the Raiders. Seattle would be third. Chargers and Rams? Come on. Not really. I lived on the 405, bro. So you know, MG, my daughter's an Angelenan. She was born in Los Angeles. Just so you know. My daughter's the only Californian in the house, actually. Okay? Once Giants lose 3 games, they're on the Yankees. Hey, let me just tell you something. Gregorio, how about this? Here's Yankee fans, or here's who a Met fan is. A Met fan will have his hat on, and he'll have his hat on in April. New York Met fan. He'll have his hat on in April, and he'll be all excited. By the time October comes, he turns his hat inside out, and it's a Yankee hat. Hey, go Yanks! Turns his hat inside out, and he's a Yankee fan. That's who Met fan is. You're not getting that in Philly. You got the Phillies. You don't have another professional team to compete with. Okay? You don't. Los Angeles fans, man, they don't show up to Laker games till the second quarter. If you're not on the floor, it doesn't matter. Met fans hate the Yankees. Mets have fans? Hey, Barb. Here's the Mets. Xander, ready? 69, 73. 69 title, 73 National League title. 2000 National League. 86 World Series. I mean, I don't know how many promos you can run on SNY. Okay, I don't know how many promos you can run on SNY with 69 Mets, 86 Mets, 73 National League champions, 2000 National League champions. Go Mets. Hey, congratulations, Mets. Sirianni's lucky he didn't get the beer bottles and batteries, get Pinocchio a film, casting chair, get ready for the story of lies. Shit, man. Don Clendenon, Bud Harrelson, Ron Swoboda, Jerry Grody, Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, Jerry Kuzman, Tug McGraw. Come on. Actually, the Mets were better than the Yankees when I was growing up. Very sad to hit. Ed Charles, last out in the 69 series. Go Mets. All right. Let me finish. I want to finish up this. We did this when we were talking about the roster. Don't forget Warren Moon, 5:30 Eastern. You've heard of Tom Seaver? Great wine he has. And a tremendous fastball. So we did the offense, we did the defense. And we looked at all the needs. Depth O-line. Draft. Free agency. I'll take 3 draft choices and 1 free agent. Running back. I'll draft 1. I'll sign 1. Sills, as you bring in Poyer. Didn't you guys draft him? Is that the Bills kid? Is that the Bills dude? I thought you guys had him on the roster. So I'm drafting and I'm going to sign. Wide receiver. I'm going to sign 2 and draft 1. Okay? Tight end. I'm going to draft a guy. So, offensively, depth in the O-line, I'm going to draft 3, sign 1 free agent. Running back, draft 1, sign 1. Depth, wide receiver. I got to sign veterans here because he's not very good at drafting wideouts. And tight end, you're good at this. I'm going to draft a tight end. He's good with this. Defensive end and depth. He's terrible. I got to sign somebody. I got to spend some money here. Sign a free agent. I don't know what that looks like. How much money is he willing to spend? And I'll draft a guy, but not with a premium pick, like a 3rd. I'll do a 4th. I got to protect myself. He's not very good at that position drafting. Don't waste your good picks on positions they're not good at. That's the key to this. Limiting failure. You're not looking for Hall of Fame here. You're looking not to fail. Defensive tackle I would sign a veteran here to help Milton Williams. Don't draft another guy and don't use a high pick. You've got a third and 2 1s at your 2 defensive tackle positions. I'm going to say something to you guys. If you don't get massive production out of your defensive tackle position this year, there is a major problem. You wasted a lot of picks, the 13th pick and the 9th pick and a 3rd round pick. And if these guys can't stop the run and get home, there's a problem. They're not living up to their ability, or they're not living up to the expectations the organization had on them. It's a big year for that position. It's time to get away from Fletcher. Let's go. Let's go. You've put a lot of high picks into this. Would you sign Leonard Williams? Always remember something when you say that. It's not a bad take. Bonehead, it's not a bad take. How much? How much are you signing Leonard Williams for? Sills, what if Howie trades for Surtain? Brilliant. I'll give you the 22 and next year's 22 for a guy who's a lockdown corner at 24 years old, and you got 2 years of equity in the money. You got him on a rookie deal still now, and next year you got the option, the 5th-year option they picked up. Yeah, it's very enticing to go get him, and the Broncos need a quarterback. Ew, okay? Your will linebacker. Damn, dude. He can't draft him. Got to sign veterans here. But, dude, not garbage pail veterans. You got to sign people here that are productive, okay? And you can't do this in season. You can't rebuild the Eagles in season. They have 5 young DTs. They don't have 5 young DTs. They got 3. They've got Carter, Davis, and Williams. The rest of those guys, come on, man. They're dudes. They're dudes. Howie ain't shit. Nick ain't. They ain't got. Name me the dude. Not one of those other guys saw. They got 3 guys, and they couldn't stop the run with those 3 guys. And the bums you're talking to me about, they got 5. Who? Who are your interior defensive tackles? Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and the rest of them are garbage. You got ran on, scored on, pushed around, and you're telling me there's backups to those guys who failed? Come on, man. Ojama, where was he in helping stop the run? Nowhere. Those guys got killed. Poyer's 30-plus years old. I got no interest in. Dude, it's time to get younger and cheaper and better. That's your problem. You want to piecemeal your defense together. You can't do it again. Hey, listen, you start signing these old guys in the secondary and you start signing these old guys on defense, you'll win 7 games. You'll win 7 games. Okay. Hey, I'm sure he's a heck of a ball player, even though we didn't see him. And even though they were getting annihilated on the run, this guy, Mojo, is going to turn into Via Veda. Okay. Sure. Got to replace your entire will linebacker position. Zach Cunningham, that's Howie's love child. He sucks. Well, Sills, he was the best thing we had. That's not saying much. Daz, that's about right, Daz. That's how I see him. He's Mozzie Smith with tad bit better feet. Mojo rising. Boston Scott, too, right? Kenny Gainwell. Queasy Watkins. These guys are turds. You're Mike linebacker. What are you doing at Mike? Hey, what are the Eagles doing at Mike? What are you guys doing at Mike linebacker? I'm going to throw this at you. What are you doing at Mike? Another mojo? You guys have another mojo? Let me get. What's his name? Elijah Ellis? What's the kid's name? Or you cut him already. I don't know. What? Jalen Carter won't be a problem. I don't believe so. And I would start Milton Williams over Jordan. Dude, that's a failure if that happens. But you're right. Jordan Davis would become a rotational piece. So the 13th pick in the draft, that means you're not picking his fifth-year option up. Jordan Davis is right. 13th pick in the draft is a rotation piece. That's a failure. That's a failure. Go sign the LB from KC. He's talking about William Gay Jr. I like him. Absolutely. Look at dual threat. That's funny. The middle of our defense is like the Panama Canal. It's a giant trench. Right up the middle. Linebackers, DTs, safeties. Right up the middle. No shit. It's like you don't have a heart. I'm with you, man. Drew goes, them Georgia boys ain't looking good. I don't know. I told you this before. Roquan Smith is a heck of a ball player, but them Georgia guys ain't like Ray Lewis and Warren Sapp and Cortez and them other guys. Shit, they don't put very many stars out. Hey, still, so what? Okay, maybe send a message for his fat ass to get in shape. Well, don't worry, Clint Hurt is working that angle already. Guess who's on the depth chart? They've got 3 dudes going across the top on the depth chart inside the building. Williams, Carter, and Davis. It's kind of a little message that we were taught at Miami. Kind of shake the room up a bit. Who's starting? Well, that's yet to be determined. We haven't had OTAs yet. You don't get it because you were drafted high. You get it because of your play. But that's not how Howie likes it. Got to play my boys. Guys I draft. That's funny how he likes Georgia guys, considering he's a Gator. In the UF Georgia game every year, played down in Jacksonville. I would think he would hate them dudes. But, I'm not sure he's really a Gator. He's probably one of them pom-pom Gators. What do they call those guys? Gatorettes? Something like that. I don't know. Oh, sure. Jay, don't worry. Xander, get a call on that. The Gatorettes. Holy shit. The Gatorettes. Oh, man. Who the hell is Xander? He owns the damn thing. That's who Xander is. Him and his old man. What are you talking about? Who Xander is? Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Howie's going to be, if Howie screws up this year, he's going to be picking the dance team for the Gatorettes. He screws this draft up. He's going to be picking the Gatorettes on the dance team. Oh, I know Aaron Andrews. Hey, Barb, why do you think Aaron Andrews hates me so much? She's a Gator. Of course. Her father's a Gator. Hey, I probably shouldn't have said the shit I said, but hey, Eli Ricks is the answer at corner. Oh, my God. Eli Ricks. is your answer at corner. Hey, Barb, you never thought of that? Why she brought all that shit on me? Here, Barb, Erin Andrews worked first at the Tampa Bay Lightning. She was a Tampa Bay Lightning cheerleader. She'd go around the arena, and she used to try to get on my show all the time. Then she got on Sunshine Network, which I won an Emmy Award for, and for Sunshine Network Live. That's how she got her start. She was a Gator. Her and her father used to call my show on WDAE and talk shit to me. I get the Miami job, then I tweet something out. She tweets it back at me, and I'm like, and I'm not going to go into it. But this went back and forth for a decade. It went back and forth for a decade. Yeah. You didn't know she was a Gator and her father ripped me all. Her father was a news anchor in Tampa. And so I said something in Miami, and of course, you got some of those ESPN guys down there. Oh my God! Did you hear what Sileo said? Go make me a sandwich. Well, when he called me fat, I was hungry. Oh, thank you very much, Dual Threat. A lot of work to do for Howie. A lot of work to do. All right, let's move on to this topic. Hell, I haven't even gotten to the second topic yet. Warren Moon will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Ringo will be good. Richard, how do you know that? How do you know he'll be good? You don't know that. That's you're presuming he's going to be because how we drafted him. You don't get the benefit of the doubt. You have to go with what you have and know now. You can't build a team around potential. You have to build a team around certainty. Because then there's less room of failure. Well, I think this guy's going to be a great player. And in the process, his name is Toast Ricks. That's how you want to do that? No, Richard, I get it. An opinion and potential are two things that mean you don't know, and he hasn't done it. Like when I watch Patrick Surtain, okay, he's it. A.J. Brown, he's it. Devontae, he's it. Landon, he's it. Mulata, he's it. Lane, he's it. There's not one player on defense with certainty that I feel comfortable with. Every one of those guys on defense is tradable. You imagine that? Would I trade? Hey, get this. Here's the players on your team I wouldn't trade. Who are the players on your team you wouldn't trade? Out of your 22, I wouldn't trade Mulata. I wouldn't trade Devontae. I wouldn't trade Landon. Lane. Jalen Carter. Who else? Mulata, Devontae, Landon, Lane, and Jalen Carter. Who else wouldn't you trade? Only 5 guys out of your starting 22? Sidney Brown would develop. I'll get rid of his ass in a New York second. You only got 5 guys that you wouldn't trade? The rest of those guys, Would I trade Josh Sweat? Probably not. I'll put him there. So you got 6. The kicker. Okay? No one on the offensive starting line. So who you wouldn't trade Tyler Steen? You wouldn't replace Tyler Steen with Tyron Smith. Now, again, you know what a lot of this has to do with? This has a lot to do with the quarterback. Because watch this. San Francisco. I'm not trading Kittle. I'm not trading McCaffrey. I'm not trading Debo. I'm not trading Warner. I'm not trading Trent Williams. Shit, man. I'm not trading Hufanga when he's healthy. Am I trading the other wide receiver on the other side? What's his name? I'm not trading that kid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They got about 10 guys on that team that are benchmark guys. Oh, Nick Bosa, I'm not trading. Get this. Would I trade the quarterback? Maybe. Yeah, Ayuk. LJ goes, the Bills releasing everyone. Well, when you're $60 million, hey LJ, when you're $45 million over the cap, that's what happens when you're $45 million over the cap. Okay? $45 million over the cap is why the Bills are dumping everyone. They still got to pay for their rookies in the draft coming up. Tre'Davious White has been released by the Bills. There's our corner sales. Bills having a fire sale. How old is he? Do you think the Bills are in a rebuild? Great question. With a $40 million quarterback or $48 million quarterback. Damn. I think Sean McDermott's out of there after this year. Okay. I wish there was a Bills Dan Sileo. I troll that too. Hey, shooter. Don't worry. One day Xander may let me loose on some of these other places. Don't worry. Then we'll be equal offenders everywhere. It just won't be your boys getting their ass kicked. White is 29. He's a corner. You're paying like Bradbury. Eat the Bradbury money. He's 29. It's not horrible. But again, you're still old there. Okay? Trey Wright was an ACL and Achilles injury the last 3 years. Whew. You might get him on a discount. You might get him on a discount. Would you take Sean McDermott in Philly? No. I want a play calling quarterback, or I want a play calling head coach for Jalen or for any quarterback that I have in Philadelphia. I don't want a defensive minded guy. I'll take Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh, but I want a play calling head coach. I'm not paying Poyer. He's 32, 33 years old. Not happening. Sills, you should do a team a week. And let us enjoy a few weeks off. Twiz, never. In relentless pursuit. So look at what Twiz is trying to do. See, he's trying to throw me off so I can talk shit on the Cowboys and not address the Eagle issues, because I got a topic coming up for his favorite guy, Nick. And see, what he wants to do is because, hey, Twiz, right? Hey, Twiz knows. Twiz knows that everybody in Philly wants to hear what's going on in Cincinnati. So what's going on, Sills, in Cincinnati? Nice try, Twiz. I'd rather talk about Geno's, okay? Or I'd rather talk about the shitty hot dogs at your baseball park than talk about that. Nice try, dog. Bills released Josh Allen in your dreams. The Eagles just released to create more energy cap space. Nick Sirianni. Okay. Seals, when players lie down and quit like the Eagles did, is that who they are for their careers? No, Sam, it's not. Sometimes you're a product of your environment, of what's going on around you then. It's not really an indictment on those guys because those guys have had too much success. I'm not going to put an indictment that those guys are quitters and losers because of the way the final stretch. It was a whole cast of circumstances that caused that. Should they risen above it? Yes. Did they know how to fight their way out of it? No. That was the problem there. They didn't know how to fight their way out of it. Okay? They just didn't know. He basically called you his son, Twiz. Shots fired. Play calling head coach solves problems of a new OC every year. That's correct. It's a failsafe. It is. Speaking of that, question. Don't forget Warren Moon, 5:30 Eastern. Will the Eagles' offense be a combination of Nick and Kellen, or just Kellen Moore? How is this dynamic going to work? So am I under the impression here that Kellen's going to come in from out of town, set up his chair like at a beach? You know those chairs? You take them out of the deal, you open them up, got little cup holders, your little sippy cup here, your little beer cup here, right? And if some of you are like really advanced, you got the thing that goes over the head, you can pull it back. You got these I have a couple of these chairs because I don't go to a rugby event without my chair. Big Sills has got a chair. I actually got two of them. Okay, so I got a chair, but not an elaborate, I got a chair. So am I under the belief that Kellen Moore is going to set up shop in Nick's office, put the chair down and go, here's what we're running. We're going to do this, this, and this on 3rd and 3. We're going to do this, this, and this on 2nd and 6. We're going to do this, this, and this. Or is this going to be a collaboration? How is this going to work? How come no one's asked that question? How come no one's asked? Who's going to have the final say in this? Who's going to have the final say? Sills, what would you be willing to give up for Patrick Surtain if you're the Eagles head coach? No. Tubes, Eagle head coach has nothing to do with this. Okay? When it comes to personnel decisions, he goes out and he goes to Dunkin' Donuts and he gets the donuts with sprinkles and different colored sprinkles, Krellers, and jelly donuts. And he brings them back to NovaCare. And those guys eat their jelly donuts and their Dunkin' Donuts with their coffee in Howie's room. And Howie makes that call. So always remember, Nick has nothing to do with that. He's a coffee runner. He runs down to Dunkin' Donuts. And he gets the jelly donuts. He gets the jelly donuts and the Krellers. I'll say this to you. There's a lot of 49er guys. The 49er guys, they're in here a lot. And I'll say this. I think your Super Bowl window's just about closed, kid. You got one more year. You've been saying the same shit since 2019. Hey, you know, we're getting a Super Bowl. You guys are getting the Super Bowls. You're not winning them. How many more years do you think you're going to have a Super Bowl window open? Are you going to get back to the Super Bowl this year? I don't know. I mean, are you getting back to the Super Bowl? You didn't do it this year? Oh, the Eagles window. Eagles don't have a window. Their window's closed. 22 in Arizona. And unfortunately, it closed on their fingers. Actually, I'll take that back. Your Super Bowl window closed at 10-1. Okay? Closed at 10-1. Came crashing down on Nick's fingers too and Howie's fingers. And yeah, your window's over. You had a 1.5 year window. Now it's over. Now the 49ers are in that position. Okay? Now the 49ers, dude, you didn't win that Super Bowl last year? I don't know. Are you going back? That's a pretty tough ask. It's a pretty tough ask. You think, hey, how many people believe that the Eagles have a Super Bowl window still open? It's dumb. I'm sorry I asked it. When do they need to pay Purdy? 2 years from now. 2 years. They got to pay Ayuk. He wants money now. LJ's not off. LJ's not off. And hey, LJ, would this be fair to say? It depends what they do in the offseason on defense. Right? It depends what they do on offense on defense. Or excuse me, it depends what they do in the offseason on defense and how they address that. Because there's just too many holes over there. Okay? On the offense, they just need depth and a third wideout and address that running back room. So, Eagles released Maddox. It's not a shocker. You save a bunch of money on him. So the Avante, hey, he wasn't drafted, right? Avante Maddox? Did he wasn't drafted, was he? Avante Maddox cut. Here, let's do this. About Avante Maddox. A lot of talent. A lot of talent. But sometimes that's not good enough. He's a third-round draft choice out of Pitt. Okay? So Avante Maddox is another third rounder they failed on. And he's a safety. Can't draft safeties. He can't draft corners. Can't draft linebackers. Can't draft edge players. When is enough for the owner of this team to see that this guy doesn't know what he's doing on defense? How much more are you going to allow this man to try to draft defensive football players? Enough is enough. He can't. This is now obnoxious. It's totally obnoxious that guy is given. So let me get this right. Last year, you cut a third-round linebacker. Now you've cut a middle round to quality pick, fourth rounder, and a guy you gave money to, and a guy you extended. and you cut him. That's correct. Gregorio, he misses the greatest component that a football player can have. And he's missing the number. That's exactly correct. He has everything except durability. And the Eagles had to make that's a tough decision, because you're not cutting the player because he's bad. You're cutting the player because he's not reliable. Okay? That sucks. You know, it sucks for the kid. It really does. Because you know what he does? He goes home and he says this, I'm good. You are. But you're never there. That's a damn shame. That sucks. I feel for the kid. That really sucks. He's a good football player who just can't stay healthy. Nolan Smith, Jacoby Dean, they're in that room too. Those guys are in that conversation also. You never fulfill your destiny because you were never given the ability to be available. It's part of it. Maddox will be back, only in a rerun. Anybody can name the reference to that movie? I know how old you are. Maddox will be back, only in a rerun. Maybe back for less money? Okay. I need a roster spot of a guy that's available. Why don't they have defensive coordinators picking in the draft? They're the one coaching the defense, because those guys don't watch college football games. Okay? They don't watch college football games. They don't know who the talent is. You think Andy Reid's sitting around watching Texas Tech games? That was John Dorsey looking at the kids. Those pro coaches don't watch college games. They're traveling on. Very nice, Soul. Very nice, LJ. Okay, so we're in the same room there. Only in a rerun. I'll be back. Give those people air. That's a different movie. Okay? Woody Allen said 80% of success is showing up. That's quite a guy to quote there, Slagger. Slagger's quoting Woody Allen. Oh, man. It's a little scary, but all right. Hey, all right. That's fitness. That's correct. You need defensive scouts, man. You need dude, how many years is Jeffrey Lurie going to allow Howie Roseman to draft defensive players? He's so bad. Damn. Nolan Smith. I don't know. Hey, what's this? We'll see. Jacoby Dean. I haven't seen. Jordan Davis, half a player. Jalen Carter looks good. Milton Williams, he looks good. Josh Sweat got him in the 4th round. Nice pick. Can't name a linebacker. Really can't name a safety. Can't name a corner. I don't know. This is the last 20 years. And now you just cut another guy. Come on, man. And hey, by the way, how old is Maddox? How old is Maddox? Lori's the man behind the curtain. Why do you think Howie still has a job? Dude, hey, Twiz, it's not that I don't want Howie to have a job. I don't want Howie to have a job of picking defensive talent. I don't want Howie picking offensive talent. He barely could pick wideouts. You got the best offensive line coach in the NFL. It's probably one of the reasons why you're very successful at the O-line and tight end position. I don't think there's a coincidence to that. Maddox is 27 years old, and you dumped a player that's 27 years old and you gave a contract extension to, and you have to cut him because he's just not available. That's not really a Howie thing, though. Because you really can't gauge if a guy's going to be durable or not. You get kind of an impression of it when you're going through and you're interviewing. Like, look, here's a problem that I have with Nolan Smith and with Nakobe. Didn't they draft those guys with shoulder injuries? And they knew they had some type of injuries. Wasn't Nolan Smith hurt his senior year at Georgia? Nakobe Dean was hurt his senior year at Georgia. And you still draft those guys? You're like, man, get hurt in the SEC? What makes you think you're going to get through the NFC East and not get banged up? Twiz is saying that Lurie has a say in the draft. Why would he have a say in the look? If I owned a hospital and I wasn't a doctor, I'm not going to sit in a room with doctors and go, hey, do you think this procedure on a brain surgery is better than this one here? Should we not go with this one? I'm not doing that. I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to let the people that make the proper decisions, that know what's best for people that come into my hospital so that they can make the proper procedures. I'm not going to have an influence on that. Dude, I'm a finger painter. Jeffrey Lurie's a finger painter, and he makes home movies. This guy makes home movies, and he's making decisions on corners and safeties. If Sills was walked in as my doctor, I'd kill myself. No, you wouldn't. You know why? Because LJ, I'd sit there and go, LJ needs a better guy that's more qualified than me to make sure he gets the best care possible so that our hospital will be the most revered hospital in the nation. That's how I run my business. I'm not going to sit there and make a call myself on you when I don't know what the F I'm talking about. But you got an owner that's sitting there telling you what linebacker to take. Okay. That's luck of the draw. Dickerson and Sweat had major injuries in college. They did. Okay. Some home movies are good, Sills. No comment. Hey, no comment. I don't know what that means. I had some good home movies in college. Can I say that without getting in trouble? There were some good home movies in college. And no, they weren't camera phones because we didn't have them back then. Maddox could come back on the cheap. Dude, it's not. Hey, LJ, it's not the problem on the cheap. It's his availability. That's why he's being whacked. It's not that he sucks. Sills, what do you think of Trey White and Slay backfield? Trey White, man, he's had a lot of injuries himself. Thanks, Matt. Amateur uploads. John, you dirty dog. Hey, John, I bet your memory on your cell phone or your Android right now is singing. And I bet it's telling you you have a media access alert and you're running out of memory. Tell me I'm wrong, John. You know what I'm saying, Xander? John's running out of memory on his phone for his uploads. You dirty dog. How come my phone is not downloading quick enough? Because you're a dirty dog, John. Yeah. Right. Damn, John. Hey, LJ. John's got that phone where he gets that media alert and he gets that stop sign. Stop uploading. Okay? Stop uploading porn. You're causing my phone to overheat. John's got to put his cell phone when he's on the road in his car in the air conditioning vent to cool it down. It's okay, kid. We've all been there. Don't forget. Hey, Don't forget, Warren Moon will be with us at 5:30 Eastern time. We're going to reset too. We still got a ton of shit to hit. Free agency's going to be off the hooks, man. Is Don going to be Sirianni's nursemaid this year? Are you kidding? I heard Dom is now the assistant head football coach of the Eagles. He's been elevated by the owner as head big dog in charge because Nick doesn't really have a job. Look at Barb. I got Barb because you know why? You know why Barb likes it here? Because there's disgusting men in here. And she won't say she likes disgusting men. It's okay, Barb. I know who you are now. Oh, my God, that's so offensive. Oh, my God, he's so offensive. Oh, my God, I can't believe he offended me. Dan is so offensive. My aunt calls me obnoxious, so you know. Just so you know, Barb. He's so offensive. I'll come back tomorrow, I think. Big Dom is mafioso. What are you saying? He's Luca Brasi? So Big Dom's the Luca Brasi of the Eagles. Is that what we're doing? Dom, hey, Xander, so Big Dom is Luca Brasi. Send Luca in. I want you to tell them that, you're not happy with the family here, and you go over to the 49ers, and you stand on the 49ers sideline, and what happens? He puts the Maloik on Greenlaw, and because he was a dick at Lincoln Financial, what happened? Luca Brasi put the Maloik on Greenlaw. He's running out there, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, an Achilles ruptures? I don't know about you. That's probably just luck too, right? Hey, Niner guy, are you just going to go like this? That's probably just what happened here. So Luca Brasi, Big Dom, goes like this to the guy, puts the Maloik on him, drops Greenlaw to his knee, and he may not even be ready for September. I don't know. Greenlaw is sleeping with the fishes for about 6 months. How you doing? Sleeping with the fishes. All right. Did you see how cool that was, Kansas City, what they did? The Kansas City Chiefs honored Jason Kelce on their Twitter page and on their Facebook and gave him his flowers also. The Chiefs are, oh, yeah, I forgot. According to what's his name? Billy Cauliflower, the guy in the Calarulo, that guy. The Eagles have a great franchise, and the Chiefs suck. And they're like the worst franchise. Coach sucks. Or no, the coach is good. Owner's F-. The place sucks. Trainer, food, bad coffee, all that shit. Nothing good about the Chiefs. Except they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. I get it. I know. Okay? And they threw some love over at Jason Kelce. I love that. That's right. Big Dom with the Italian witchcraft. It's called the Maloik. Don't let me drop it on you. My Aunt Nellie, Xander, you'll like this one. My Aunt Nellie told me how to take headaches away. This is a true story. My aunt knows this. I was taught this, I think either was Christmas Eve or on New Year's Eve. I forget which one it was. But she told me how to take headaches away. And I know how to take headaches away. And I take headaches away. Every time my wife asks me, it's like a little voodoo, Italian voodoo. It works. Okay. Bills releasing everyone on defense. Big Sills. Why? Money. $44 million over the salary cap. I can't tell you, Rock. Because if I told you, Rock, I'd have to kill you. And I'm a pacifist now. I'm not a tough guy anymore. I only play a tough guy on the air every day. 2 to 6 Eastern, Monday through Friday here on JAKIB. I only play a tough guy. Don't worry. The librarian still gets mad at me. And so does Pinocchio Sirianni. They both get mad at me. But that's all right. Okay? Aunt Betty, she's my godmother. Don't you know anything about Italians, Jack? Jesus, criminy. La Cosa. Oh, why? Because I'm Italian? You're so racist. Look at Big Sills. We 10-1. You're racist. La Cosa Nostra because I'm Italian? What about Justice Scalia? You ever think of that? What about Justice Scalia? Hey, he's a paisan. Hey, all right. Warren Moon's going to join us at 5:30. Could talk to him about Jalen. Russell Wilson, does he have anything left in the tank? Seattle. I think Seattle has done a pretty nice job up there. They really do a really good job with how they run their organization. Who would have thought that Seattle would be in a better place getting rid of Russell Wilson, and Denver's in a train wreck of a place right now. So we'll have Warren Moon on. That'll be at 5:30 Eastern. We will reset. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Dak has a problem with Micah Parsons now. Has a problem with him. Oh, real quick. Let me write that down so I don't lose my spot here. Dak and Micah Parsons, or missing persons, I should call him. Yeah, that's Micah Parsons' new name is Missing Parsons. You can always count on him to miss half the season. Sills, he didn't miss half the season. Yeah, he did. Okay, so let me show you how shitty some of the people in the media are, and the people that call themselves journalists. So Ian O'Connor is writing this biography that Aaron Rodgers is not part of on Aaron Rodgers, and it's coming out. And it's on his relationships with his family, his anti-vax, why people in the media have a problem with him, and most notably, it's the family relationship. My question to Ian O'Connor, and this will be a book I have no interest in, and this is the kind of asshole I hate, because you're writing a book on a guy on why people hate him or why you hate him. I don't understand. What's the point of the book? You're a sports reporter. You write stories on sports. And you're going to write a book on a guy. This is the same guy that also said that the New England Patriots, if they hired Bill Belichick, it would be the worst hire in the history of the NFL. How'd that work out, Ian? 6 Super Bowls later. I mean, this guy's writing a book on a guy on why he hates him. I hate Aaron Rodgers because he's anti-vax. That's why you only attack him. Who gives a shit about his politics, who he likes, who he has sex with, what his religion is? Why do you care? His family doesn't like him, so I don't care about that. That's none of my business. Aaron Rodgers' family have major tiffs. Why do I care about that? That's like caring about an avalanche in the West Indies when I'm sitting in the Big Sills Dan Cave, 10,000 miles away going, oh, gee. Aaron doesn't believe in sex. Well, Barb, he's out of your list, isn't he? I don't think Rodgers is that popular. Oh, I do. Why talk about him then? I mean, how many segments did Colin Cowherd and Skip Bayless start their shows out with? Hell, even Stephen A. King. How many shows did they start out with a guy who played 4 minutes in an NFL season last year? Oh, good. Behave on Barb. You hear me, KG? Behave. Okay? Behave. Okay? Barb's a great sports fan. Behave. I'll defend her. If anyone's going to talk shit on Barb, it's going to be Big Sills. I got you, Barb. Oh no. Any women that come here and talk sports, I welcome them. Because remember something, women make up 48% of the NFL's fan base. Did you know this? 48% of the NFL's fan base are women. And you know what those women do? They're the ones that go out and buy the bed covers, little Jimmy and Susie's Eagle bed cases and jackets and hats. And ain't the dad. They're out buying all that shit. So, especially Eagle fans. One of the great things, I'll tell you this. See, LJ, I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you sometimes. But the greatest thing is when here's how I know that Eagle fans and Eagle women are different also, Xander. What game was it when they panned to that chick in the stands? And sorry, Aunt Betty, but I'm going to do it. And she's going like this. And the camera went right to her and she went, run the fucking ball. I went, what are you doing? Run the ball. I mean, between that chick and the guy in Tampa, hey, Nick, you're done. Popcorn. Hey, Nick, you're done. And the girl in the stands, run the fucking ball. The camera went away, came back. What are you doing? I'm like, that chick's a legend. That chick's a legend. That's when you know you got passionate fans. When you got a girl, she's dressed in full Eagle gear, and she's barking, and she was right, by the way. She was right. Run the ball. Just absolutely classic. Warren Moon will join us at the bottom of the hour. I can't wait to talk to the legend himself. We so look forward to it here. Absolutely. Free agency starting next week. You know, we talked a little bit about some of the positions that are going to be looked at as we go into free agency here that are on the birds, if they're going to be more of a player in free agency or if they're going to be more of a player in the draft. They just released Avonte Maddox. So now you're going to have to address that. Hey, the cutting of Avonte Maddox, they have to feel really comfortable, I would think, with Sidney Brown. Okay? Love women birds, fans. Hopefully your future wife. She was on Channel 29 the next day. She's on the Fox affiliate in Philly, is what Barb's saying. Okay. Hey, I'm looking forward, Slagger, to seeing what Isaiah Rodgers brings to the table. I am. I'm looking forward to that. I want to see how much he's going to bring to the table there. I have never seen a fan base begging outside the team's facilities in a freezing rain screaming, run the ball. Hey, one thing I'll give Sirianni credit for, but he's probably really good at it. He brought him coffee and donuts. It's probably something he's exceptional at. Is bringing, hey, Yale, I'd love to see flyer checks. That must be insane great. Hey, I'll tell you, one thing I'll give Gator fans. I went up to Florida Field one year. I don't know if Xander's ever seen this because he was down in SEC country for a bit. I walked into that building, the Swamp, when we played Florida there. I've never seen more hot chicks in my life that were swearing at me and calling me every name in the book, and I couldn't believe the mouth on them. Holy shit. You no good mother. You guinea bat. Oh, everything, man, out of their mouth. I thought it was hot. I'm sorry. It stimulated me very highly to watch a really hot blonde just calling me everything and how filthy her mouth was. It was one of the hottest things I've ever been involved with. Stubbs and Jerome are looking at me and he's like, you like this, don't you? I go, I think I'd like to marry her. I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend you up. And I'm going like this. Hey, Drew, I'm going to take this and bend you. And I'm like, I don't know. 75,000, half the room is chicks. It was just hilarious, man. Well, Sills likes to be tortured. It's confirmed. Trey, I've been married for 34 years. What do you think, John? Okay. Hey, it's confirmed Sills likes to be tortured. Hey, John, I've been married 33 years. What are you talking about? I've been tortured for 33 years. At Penn State, our girls are like that. No comment. I don't like anything from Penn State. Yeah. Except one of my girls who came and saw me at my remote. And yeah, in King of Prussia. One of my girls came down to see me. So Sidney Brown is good slot. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, the women at are unbelievable. Yeah, but they really don't like, they like guys with money. And when you're a football player at you kind of got it, but they like the family money. They like people that are kind of like married into it. You know what I mean? Okay. Hey, I made it to the NFL. Oh, okay. Come over here and let me talk to you a little bit. The girls down there are great. Florida State, too. Sills, how'd you meet Mrs. Sills? She watched you play back in the day? Great question. My aunt knows this story. So I was with the Cowboys. My wife's from Texas. And she worked at a Bennigan's right around the corner in Valley Ranch. Smoking hot. I mean, you could bounce quarters off her ass. No fat on her. Smoking hot. Won a couple beauty contests. I mean, a bikini contest. All that. Just smoking. So finally, I went up to her and I said, I go, hey, I'd like to take you out. And I'm doing this. Hey, I'd like to take you out. And she goes, you're with the Cowboys, ain't you? I said, yes, I am. She goes, well, you guys suck. You won 4 games last year. I mean, right? And you just fired Tom Landry. Dude, I'm a Tom Landry guy. Well, I had to come at a different angle. And I go like this to my boy Crawford Kerr. Well, I'm going to marry this bitch. I'm going to marry her, man. Whew. It was a tough putt, man. Because she hates Jimmy. Just so you guys know, she's Tom Landry. She hates how they treated Coach Landry, how they treated Tex. She likes the old Cowboys. She's not a Jimmy Johnson fan. She's a Tom Landry guy. Still to this day. It's not that she hates Jimmy. She doesn't hate him anymore, but she's a Tom Landry guy. And you want to hear something else. She's a Florida State fan. She likes Bobby Bowden. So we were in Florida, and this is when we started dating. If Bobby had me come do an event, okay? And Bobby gave me big hugs, and he gave her big hugs, and I think Burt Reynolds was there. Burt Reynolds used to do all the pre and post game stuff for the Florida State Seminoles. He lived in Tallahassee. He had a place in Los Angeles, but he would be in Tallahassee a lot. I think he's from Florida, maybe Georgia, but I know he played football at Florida State. He played with Lee Corso at Florida State. And so my wife was like, oh my God, I love Bobby Bowden. He loves you. Why didn't you go play there? Kim, how come you didn't play at Florida State? What a great, and I loved Ron Simmons. Okay, Ron Simmons was like my first hero. You know, the wrestler? He was a Florida State Seminole All-American, and he was like because he benched 500 pounds. I wanted to do. My wife, everything I like, she hates. Miami, she goes, the colors are not that great. Your coach fired Tom Landry. I go, Jerry Jones fired him. I'm a Tom Landry guy. Jimmy Johnson, you get the double dose. Okay? Fire Tom Landry. And I like Bobby. We've been together 33 years. 33. Yeah. See, as you could tell, guys, you guys are, what do you think when I get off the air here? Xander, when I get off the air here, do you guys think that it stops? People bitching at me? I got Xander bitching at me at least every 3 days, every third day about something I did or tweeted or what have you. And my wife bitching at me about something. And my daughter's going to graduate here in a couple weeks. My daughter's graduating. I saw her in her cap and gown for the first time. Holy cow. Whew. Damn. Captain of a team for 3 years. Tell the people why I bitch at you. No, I'm not doing that. Xander goes, tell the people why I bitch at you. Oh, well, it's my delivery. Never. Jalen Hurts will never throw for 4,000 yards. Denny, it is. Thank you. Graduating with an A average, captain of her team. This is the number one ranked rugby team in the country. She scored twice last week. They beat University of California, San Diego 73-0. The week before that, they beat UCLA 36-10. They beat Arizona State 68-0. Week before that, they beat Arizona 79-0. They're good, and they hit. I'll tell you what, they got better angles in tackling than what the Eagle defense did last year at the end of the season. I'm talking to the girl who's a Jets fan. I figured I have a shot because she's used to disappointment. That's hilarious. Now, I would give you a little insight here on how to date a Jet chick. Okay? Don't goof on Fireman Ed. All right? No goose on Fireman Ed, Q. Don't goof on him, even though he's the most famous Jet next to Namath. Don't goof on Fireman Ed. All right? Okay. Richard Todd was good. Al Toon had one eye. Yeah. Okay. The Sack Exchange. Got a great picture over here of the Sack Exchange. All signed, by the way. Yeah. I still have the, hey. And you can do this. You could throw my name around. Gastineau loves Big Sills. Okay? Gastineau's full of, see, Gastineau loves Sills. All right? And he should be in the Hall of Fame. Not me, him. We're going to talk to Warren Moon here in a minute. Rest of her family are Giants fans. Really, though they're, I don't know. You might want to dump her then. You might want to dump her. Okay? Hey, that's what I said. Xander said the same thing. You should run. If everybody in the family's a Giant fan and she's a Jet fan, there might be a problem there. So I don't know. You know, I don't know. I'd have to really debate that, because if she's a Jet fan and everybody in the family's a Giant fan, you know, she could be an atheist, or she could be like, you know, I don't know. How could you be a Jet fan? What are you rooting for? Shea Stadium? I think you'd dump her too, man. But then again, if you're a Giant right now, you got Aaron Rodgers, and the Giants have Daniel Jones. Sills, is your daughter going to play in NRL? Denny, thank you for asking. Get this. So we got a great call from Lyle Alzado's widow. And Chris told me that the owner of Sydney City in NRL has a women's rugby team. Now get this. They make $100,000 American money. They get a Kia car and they pay for their home. And you get to play in Australia. And that's the top flight rugby in the world is in Australia. And, you know, making that team would be pretty tough because they're the best women in the world. So I don't know. And I may be doing my show from Australia going, hey, mate, how them Eagles doing, mate? Eating kiwi. Right? Eating kiwi. I cannot wait to see next week. Will the Eagles be players early in free agency, middle free agency? How about this? Let's do it this way. Will they be players week 1, week 2, week 3, or after the draft? Week 1, week 2, John goes none. Cosmo, Cosmo, if you dream it and believe it, you can make it happen. Sound like a Disney. I love that Patrick Surtain. The 13 things will happen across the NFL. Holy cow, I like that segment, Barb. Barb, you just gave me a segment for tomorrow. Big Sales, 13 big predictions for the 2024 season and for the Eagles. I like it. We're going to do that tomorrow. Okay? Sales, did you play football in high school? I did. Stanford Catholic. It's a prep school in Connecticut, and I played against Greenwich and I played in the FCAC where Steve Young played. That kid, Allen, I think he's with the Broncos now. He went to New Canaan. Bunch of kids played in the FCAC. That's a great topic. I'm gonna do that tomorrow. Absolutely. We're gonna catch up with Warren Moon here in a couple minutes. He'll jump on with us. By the way, one of the great things about Moon and the Crescent Moon Foundation, he has all these great programs that he set up for people in both Houston. He stays to his true colors in Houston because that's where he started his career, obviously, in the NFL. He started it in the Canadian League with the Edmonton Eskimos. Then he went to the Oilers, and he played there for a bunch of years. Then I think he went to Minnesota, and then I think he ended it in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. And that's now he's part of the broadcast team for the Seattle Seahawks. So, Warren, I think if you put together his Canadian and his NFL passing numbers, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's thrown for 70,000 yards. He's one of the few men that has thrown for, counting his postseason, 70,000 yards. Yes, Warren Moon's a Hall of Famer. Anthony, Warren Moon's a Hall of Famer Canadian, and he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and he's a College Football Hall of Famer. I think Marv Levy and Bud Grant and Warren Moon are the only people to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Grant coached in Canada, and Marv Levy coached in Canada. And Warren Moon, I think Warren Moon's the only player that's in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame and in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Remember something, though. He had to go to Canada because of racism, because they wouldn't let African-American quarterback in the end. Well, it wouldn't let them. It's just that that's not what the league was ready yet for. I guess you could say not ready, but whatever. But at the end of the day, Warren Moon ended up having himself a brilliant career. Got to an AFC championship game, I think, when he was in Houston. I believe they got to an AFC. I may not have, but I know he got to the playoffs a bunch of times. But one of the really cool things that he had set up in his contract, Lee Steinberg, get this. So Steinberg is the guy that has Patrick Mahomes as his agent. Warren Moon had Lee Steinberg, and so did Troy Aikman. And I think I've told this to some people, but Warren Moon had a deal in his contract. He was never going to be paid the highest paid quarterback in the league, but he would never be paid less than the third. So you have to remember what you had back in the time. Listen to this. So back in the day, you had Montana, you had Elway, You had Kelly. You had Marino. You had Phil Simms. You had Joe Theismann. You had McMahon. You had all these great quarterbacks that were in the game. And all their contracts would get redone every year. Somebody's deal would get done. And it would knock him out of the third spot. So every year, Warren Moon got his contract renegotiated. He was never the highest paid guy, but he was never paid lower than the third. It's crazy. You know, I was talking to somebody about this, and I was talking to Lee Steinberg. I think it's so I think it's so awesome that Warren Moon had Lee Steinberg as his agent, and Patrick Mahomes has Lee Steinberg now as his agent. And you talk about creative ways on how to build a football team. And I just got through telling you that Warren was never paid less than the third. And everybody used to go, how do I get that deal? How come I'm down to eighth? Warren's over here. He gets a deal done every year. It's one of the great stories of all time. He's truly one of the greatest players, and he's a dear friend of mine. Canadian and Pro Football Hall of Famer Warren Moon. How you doing, Warren?
I'm doing great, Dan. How you doing?
One of the greatest contracts of all time was the Warren. Everybody back in the day was so envious of you because everyone went like this. How's this guy get a contract down every year? And then Lee told me, he goes, I had a clause in there with the Oiler owners. And I told Bud Adams that, hey, you don't want to pay him there? Because Bud goes, I can't pay him that much money. Then he goes, fine. How about he's never paid lower than the third? One of the greatest contracts of all time, Warren.
Well, Lee was he was the best. You know, he was the best representative. And he had myself, Steve Young, he had Drew Bledsoe, he had Troy Aikman. I mean, we had a great cast of characters for him to work with, and he did a great job, along with all his other clients at all the other positions as well. But we were some of his top ones, and he did a great job for us.
How about the culture now that is taking place in Seattle with the new regime coming in, going away from Pete Carroll and having a new regime come in? So far, what's your sense, again, maybe from 30,000 feet? I know you work in the broadcast team. How do you see this transition going?
I think it's going to go well. I think John Snyder knew exactly what he wanted when he went out, looking for the new head coach. I think he wanted somebody that was young, energetic, not that Pete didn't have a lot of energy, but he had been there a long time. And sometimes when you're in one place a long time, your message maybe gets a little bit stale. And I think Pete can still coach, but he probably needs a new organization to do that, because I think he still has the energy to do it, and he has the desire to do it. But I think for the Seahawks, him having been here 14 years, it was just time to make a change. And I think this change will be a good one for the football team.
How about this, Warren? Is that why John Schneider and ownership maybe wanted to go in a different direction from Dan Quinn? Is that they just wanted to break away from that and start something anew and didn't want to go down the same old, same old? Not that there was anything wrong with that, because that's probably the greatest era in Seahawks football is under Pete Carroll. So no shade on that, but they just wanted a different course change.
I think so. I think because it would have been the likely choice to bring in Dan Quinn, because he's been here before. He's familiar with the surroundings, he's familiar with the philosophy, all those different things. But I think they just wanted to go in a different direction totally and bring in some new, fresh ideas. They have a really good young football team here that they think is ready to take that next step and maybe win. I thought they could have been better this past year with the roster that they had, especially coming off of what they did the year before when they went into the playoffs. But they kind of underachieved this year, so I think that had something to do with the coaching change as well. So with the roster that they have, with a couple of new additions, I really think this team can be a playoff team come up this season.
Geno Smith's 2 years in Seattle, according to you, Warren, have been what?
Up and down. I think he had a really good first year, and they signed him to a lot of money last year. And this season was kind of up and down for him. He's got to bounce back and play a little bit more consistent than he did last year. If he can play like he did 2 years ago, this team can go into the playoffs and make some noise. So it's going to be up to Geno. He's got really good weapons around him, and I think with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and he's got some really good running backs. I think they've got to keep their starting running back. I'm slipping his name right now, but
the kid from Michigan State,
yeah,
Walker.
Michigan State, yeah, Walker, yeah, Kenneth Walker. He's got to stay healthy. He's been in and out of the lineup, and when you're the bell cow for a team, you got to be there each and every week. They have to be able to rely on you, and they haven't been able to rely on him on a consistent basis, especially last year. So if they can get that back up to speed, I think they really have some good personnel on the defensive side of the ball, very young players that I think are capable. And, with the new head coach coming in, he's a defensive-minded guy. You saw what he did with the Baltimore Ravens defense over the last couple of years. I think he has that same type of personnel here that he can do the same things with.
Warren, do you look at this kid, Devin Witherspoon, who was my favorite player in the draft a year ago? Is he in the makeup of somebody like a Cam Chancellor, in your opinion? He's somebody like that? Because I really loved him last year. I mean, he's a Lovie Smith product, so you knew that he was going to have great ability to be able to try to fulfill that ability because of what Lovie saw with him. But he was just great last year, I thought. Your take on him?
He's not a Cam Chancellor guy because Cam Chancellor was 6'3", 230, 240 pounds.
Right.
But this kid brings that type of mentality, and that's the similarities. He's a very aggressive guy. He's only about 5'10", 5'11".
Okay.
About 185 pounds. But I tell you what, he will hit you, and he can definitely cover and make plays. So they like his attitude and the dog that he brings to their defense, and they need more guys like that. But I think the way he plays, I think, is infectious, and the other guys feed off of that.
Not to break down the draft, and I won't with you, but I will ask you this. Well, let's do free agency first because free agency is coming up here next week. Do you think there'll be a strong player on week 1, or do you think there'll be a player on week 1, 2, or 3? How do you see them looking at free agency with John Schneider, the GM?
John always takes a longer look than most people. He's not one of those guys that goes out on the first day and just starts signing the biggest names that are out there. He almost sits back and waits to see who goes where. And also he's also looking to see who fits best into his football team and his philosophy. He doesn't want to go out there paying top dollar for these guys. He would rather put the money into the guys who are already on their roster. So he's not going to go out there and look for, like I said, the biggest names, but he wants those guys that fit. So he's going to sit back and watch and see exactly who's available. I think that's what he's done in the past. It's been successful for him. And if he wants that one piece or two pieces here, those are the guys that he'll focus in on, and that's what he'll go after.
Do you agree then, Warren, that he looks at free agency more as gap fillers and goes through the draft and looks at the draft as more as the centerpieces, because that's really how you build longevity, right? It's through centerpiece draft pieces and not free agency.
Right. And they've been great here in Seattle since Pete's been here at developing, all the way back to Mike Holmgren. They've done a great job of developing players here, and they have that philosophy of bringing in young guys and developing them into great players, and they've done a great job at that. And then they've also filled in with different free agents from time to time, which is where they have a need. So I think they're going to continue that same philosophy as long as John is here, and it's worked well for him.
Needs in the draft, in your opinion, that you would think, again, you and me just talking here, not any insight here of what they're going to go with, but some of the things maybe that you would look at to try to improve the team and maybe a position room?
Yeah, I think you can always look for edge rushers, guys who can get to the quarterback, impact guys. Bobby Wagner, whether he comes back or not, he's getting up there in age, so maybe a young linebacker that can learn from him for a year or however long Bobby wants to play, and then can fill in there at that middle linebacker spot. You're always looking for good quality offensive linemen, and I think you can always get a really good running back, far down in the draft. So those are the places that I'd be looking right away. They did cut both of their safeties this week, and they're, the new head coach likes big safeties. So I think that's something they might look at higher in the draft this year. Some big hitter or maybe somebody like that in free agency is what they might target to go after, since they got rid of two pretty good safeties, but they're both kind of small in stature.
Absolutely. Jamal Adams, one of the guys you referenced in there that they were released. That was a big deal for John Schneider too.
And Quadre Diggs, both of them.
Yep.
And they're both guys. Both were Pro Bowlers, but they just don't fit the scheme of this new coach.
Absolutely. Warren, were you and have you been surprised on the last 2 years with the Russell Wilson story in Denver?
I really haven't. It's too bad it's ending like that, or it's not really ending, but it's too bad all this has been exposed. Because Russell is a nice guy, there's no question about it. But the way he's been portrayed the last couple of years, some of those things are true. He's just has those ways about him that he wants things a certain way. So I think he's been humbled a little bit by this whole experience, and I think he'll come out of this thing better. His next move he makes to the next organization, I think he'll learn from the things that happened in Denver, whether it was with the first coach or the second coach. And I think just the way he communicates with his teammates, I think that'll change a little bit more for him as well. And I think he'll be humbled by all of this, and he'll become a better player.
Warren, one thing I know about you and the people that have played with you, like Alonzo, who's a dear friend of mine, he's now, by the way, with the Patriots in the front office there. And I know many people that have played with you. And when you look at Brady and what kind of teammate he was, I think it's important not just to be friends with half the room. It's important for quarterbacks to be friends with everybody in the room. You don't have to be super friends, but you have to know people in the room. And so I'll make this statement. And it's not that he's a bad person, but that this is a different question compared to talking about a guy being a friend with somebody. Do you think Russell Wilson's a good teammate?
I think he's a good teammate, but I think he could be a better teammate. And like you said, you can't just be friends with certain guys on the team. You have to give a little bit of yourself to every position group on the team. That's what you are as a quarterback. Those guys want to feel like they know you, no matter what positions it is, whether it's linebacker or offensive line, wide receiver, you name it. Even the special teams guys, they want to know that you're with them and they can be with you, and that you're approachable and all those different things. So it's a big job for a quarterback, because there's a lot of things put on your back as far as the responsibilities you have, as far as the media, things you have to deal with throughout the week with them. The things you have to learn yourself, just as far as the game plan is concerned, and digesting all of that, and then being able to give part of yourself to your teammates. So there's a lot asked of you, but that's why you get paid the money that you get paid. That's why you're considered the leader of the franchise, and you have to be willing to do all those things all the time.
Do you believe that there'll be a strong market for him? And here's what's really sexy about it, that the Broncos are on the hook for $39 million this year, next year, 37. And I don't know what and like you said, if he's humbled, he goes to Pittsburgh on a $1.29 million deal, signs the league minimum. You basically are getting a guy with 26 touchdowns and 8 picks, had a pretty good quarterback rating. Completion percentage was pretty good, even though low volume in attempts. But, Warren, he's better than anything in Pittsburgh right now. And that could make that football team a divisional round type opponent there in Pittsburgh. Could you see something like that working out?
Well, I think that's kind of the odds-on favorite where he's going to go from what everybody says. But you have to make sure you put an offense in that takes advantages of his skills. They have really good skilled people there as far as him to play with and throw the football to. But you've got to put in an offense that he can function in and he can be successful in. And that's what he hasn't really been in the last couple of years. Just because he couldn't do the things Sean Payton wanted, and he couldn't do the things the previous head coach before that wanted. So he played decent last year. His numbers, looked decent, but it wasn't winning football. And that's what playing quarterback is all about. You got to win. And he was only 11-19 in his 2 years. So he put up decent numbers last year, but they weren't winning numbers. They were, mainly numbers against, some of the teams that weren't very good, stuff like that. But going back to Pittsburgh, if they put the right system in place for him that can make Russell successful, I think he can be a good quarterback for them. But then after 1 year, you're going to have the problem of he's going to want, $40 or $50 million after that. So are you willing to do that once that 1 year is over with, or do you draft another young kid this year and groom him 1 year behind Russell? So there's a lot of questions about Russell, even though he looks like a guy that everybody would want because of his contract situation this year. But then what happens after this year is over?
Couple last questions for you, Warren. I want to ask you about Jalen Hurts, and I want to go here with it, and I want to use you and your experiences. So this will be the fourth coordinator, or the third. Let me see: Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, and now Kellen Moore. This is the fourth quarterback coordinator in 3 years for him, going into his fourth year starting. When you have that much change and a voice in your ear on play calling, is it possible to be consistent when you may have the same playbook, but as you know, coordinators have different in-game feel for the game. And so there's a different approach. How hard is that for a guy like Hurts? He had 18 turnovers this last year compared to what he did the year before. And for you, have you gone through something like that? And what's the number one thing you have to fight against when you have so many different voices in your ear?
Yeah, I think the only consistent thing that Jalen has had the last 3 years, this will be his fourth year, is he has had the same head coach. They have had pretty much the same system, but he has had different play callers, like you talked about. And I think the big thing they need to do is get on the same page as far as their communication on what's going to be called in the games in certain situations. I remember when I went from Houston, where I had been in the run and shoot for 4 years. Now I go to Minnesota with Brian Billick and his offense, more of a West Coast style offense. I really had to get on the same page with him, not only with the offense that I had to learn, but then how he wanted to call plays. So when we went out to practice on Friday, which was the day we wanted to really hone in our game plan, everything we had practiced on Wednesday and Thursday, Friday was going to be a day where basically the things that you're going to call in the game, those are the plays you're going to practice. So we would have a meeting prior to and go over all the things I liked in certain situations: 1st and 10, 2nd and medium, 2nd and long, 3rd and 10, 3rd and medium, 3rd and short. I would go over all those situations with him. Okay, these are the plays that we've practiced this week that I like. These are the plays that I really don't have a great feel for. And he would do the same thing as far as what he liked. So we were almost on the same page, even though he was calling the plays, because we had been in such good communication throughout the week on what we wanted to call. I almost knew what was going to be called in those situations. So that's what Jalen has to get on the same page with his new offensive coordinator, whoever that might be, or play caller, that this is probably going to be called, and start anticipating that these are the plays that are going to be called, because we've already gone over them time after time after time.
Last question for you, Warren. Justin Fields in Chicago. This really is shocking, and I want to throw a number at you here. And I've been throwing it at – I had Phil Simms on yesterday, and I threw this at him as well, along with Mike Golick. And I said to him, I go, do you know in Green Bay in the last 32 years that they've had 97% of the snaps taken by 3 men, Favre, Rodgers, and now Jordan Love? Why can one organization get that position right, Warren, and a place like Chicago is a conveyor belt for quarterbacks where they just don't get that right? And you're now looking at potentially moving on from Fields, who had no shot, in my opinion, of success there. How come that works like that? Is that just certain organizations just don't get that position?
Yeah, I think, a couple of different reasons. I mean, one, they've had offensive-minded coaches there. They've had Mike Holmgren. They've had Mike McCarthy, and the coach that's there right now,
Matt LaFleur.
Matt LaFleur, yeah. So that helps any quarterback when you have an offensive-minded head coach. A lot of the philosophy of what you're going to do offensively is going to come from him. And then I think the fact that none of those guys were asked to play right away. They got a chance to look and learn. Aaron Rodgers did it. Brett Favre didn't do it as long, but he still did it.
No, he remember Warren. He played behind that guy Magic Man, that Mikowski guy.
He did, but he didn't play as many years. I'm just saying he did have his time to sit and wait and learn, and because of that, I think all those guys had success. So there's something to the fact that don't put these guys on the field too quickly. Even Patrick Mahomes, as good as he was when he first came in, they still made him sit a year behind Alex Smith, learn, watch, and then they gave him the reins the next year. So I think the combination of having 3 offensive-minded head coaches and then the time that they got a chance to sit and learn, look and learn, I think that really helped all 3 of those guys have success going forward.
Do you think that helped you, Warren, when you were in Canada? It was kind of like a developmental, and I don't mean any disrespect. I played in
No,
Canada,
it's
and
a
I was a
whole
CFL
thing.
guy.
Yeah. No, I think it did help me, and there's no question about it. I think I had more of a benefit going up there and playing as opposed to sitting on a sideline behind, a veteran or behind somebody for 2 or 3 years, even though that might have helped me too. But I think the fact that I got the chance to play and go through situations, go through red zone, go through 2-minute drills, go through coming off the goal line, go through goal line situations, all those different things that you have to learn and get better at. The more reps you get of that in a live situation, I think the better you're going to be. So yeah, I think those things help me as far as coming back to the league, even though the game is different up there as far as the rules and situations. You're still playing in those situations that I talked about.
Absolutely. Warren, what do you have with Crescent Moon? And I know you do a lot of stuff in Houston. You got a tournament down there.
I've got
back home too, also in Los Angeles. By the way, I drove by the mural.
Did you? You saw it?
I saw it. Okay, because my daughter plays UCLA, and so I told her we had to go to your high school. And man, I tell you what, you do so many great things. You got to be so proud of all the things you do, the scholarships that you give away. Talk about some of that stuff and how people can take a look at it, because I know that's near and dear to you.
Yeah, that was one of the more prouder days of my life, going back to my high school, having that mural unveiled of me, and it was put on the girls' gym and not on the boys' gym. That's the only thing that surprised me. Why'd they put it on the girls' gym? I spent more time over there or something like that, which is probably true. But the fact that I had all a lot of my classmates were there, a lot of my former teammates from my high school team were there, coaches were there, my mom was there, my family. It was just a really great day, and that's something that's going to be there forever. So it's the only one that's up there, and we've had some really great names come out of our high school, whether it's Sidney Wicks or Rod Martin or people like that. For them to put me up there was quite an honor. So that was one of the, like I said, more prouder days of my life. Right now we have our golf tournament coming up with our Brothers in Arms Foundation in Houston with me, Andre Ware, and Vince Young. We started a foundation 4 years ago because we all come from single mom backgrounds. So we raise scholarships for kids who come out of those same environments. And our tournament will be April 24th at the TPC course, Carlton Woods in the Woodlands in Houston. We're going to have a lot of different celebrities there. Anybody who wants more information can go to our website, which is brothersinarmshouston.com, and it'll give you all the information on if you want to be involved in the tournament, if you want to donate to the foundation, and just kind of give you an idea of what we do. We have another scholarship class that we're going to be announcing here in the next 2 weeks. We've got 24 kids now, so we're really off to a really good start, and just looking to build this thing bigger and better. We're hoping to maybe have CJ Stroud involved as well, because he came up mainly in a single mom home. His dad was in prison for a while, and things are well with them now, but he knows about that type of upbringing. Absolutely.
Warren, you're a wonderful man and dear friend of ours, and you know what I think of you and all the things that you do, and you're always kind to me, and you always find time out of your busy day to find time for us. Thank you so much. Anything I can ever do for you in any small way, please let me know. Thank you so much, Warren.
Appreciate it, Danny. I'll talk to you down the line, all right? You know this.
You got it, my friend. God bless.
This free agency thing and the draft and all that, football never ends. So it's an ongoing thing. So I'm sure I'll be talking to you in a short while.
Absolutely. Thank you, Warren.
All right, buddy. Take care.
You got it. Our dear friend, Warren Moon. Love talking to Warren Moon. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the Oz. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Angelo Cataldi tomorrow. Let's see. And I think Philly 500. Let's see here. What time is Angelo on tomorrow? I asked Warren Moon last night and I was laying in bed. How you doing? Let's see here. Angelo, 4:30. Let's see here. Yep. Thursday's good. All right. Angelo, 4:30. So Angelo Cataldi tomorrow at 4:30. And let me ask you this. Angelo does like Jason Kelsey, right? Because I know he hates Nick. He thinks the owner is like always shopping for yachts. You know, Zane takes, Lori takes Xander with him. These guys go shopping for yachts in Morocco. Me, I can't even afford a tugboat. I can't even afford a rowboat. Okay, these guys are yacht hunting, house hunting and shit, and I'm in a yo-boat. Xander goes, "Hey, dude, I can't afford the guy's fuel. What are you kidding? A 65-foot yacht." Hey, you know what? My friend always says this. You guys will like this. My friend does this. I walked into my friend's house, Xander. This guy's got like a 12-bedroom home in Florida, and I looked over at him and I go, "Man, what's the electric bill on this?" Guy looks at me and goes, "Hey, Big Sills, if you're worried about the electric bill, you shouldn't be in a house like this." And I'm like, touche. If I'm worried about the water bill, this ain't for me. This is not for me here, man. So again, Angelo Cataldi tomorrow at 4:30. Sills, great show, awesome guest, and great stories from the past. Thank you so much. We always do it. Hey, thank you to the new guys. Well, today was my first checking out the show. By the way, we had a ton of people on Twitter watching the show today too. So it was really good. Property taxes, $50K a year. I get it. All right. I want to thank everybody, the Krauses especially, and thank you. We will catch you tomorrow 2 to 6, and we shall see you on the flip side.